What's going on? 601 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Terrible news yesterday as the father of Titans cornerback Caleb Farley died in an explosion that destroyed the NFL player's North Carolina home and left another person injured. When asked for comment, Mike Vrabel said this.
What's most important is that we do everything that we can to support him emotionally, teammates, coaches, organization, just shocking, but also got to focus on Caleb and his family.
The Titans have agreed to terms on veteran kicker Michael Badgley, nicknamed the Money Badger. Badgley was Detroit's kicker last season and made 20 of his 24 field goal attempts. They long of 53. He's 94 of 115 on field goals for his career with a long of 59 to his name. And Titans aren't the only team with wide receiver injury woes, as Seahawks rookie wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba has yet to undergo surgery for a minor wrist fracture and is seeing a hand specialist. They are maintaining an optimistic lookout, but Carroll mentioned that they are hoping for a 3 to 4 week injury. The Bucs are going to – it's time to bake. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's time to bake. So original. Baker Mayfield is going to be the starting quarterback for the Bucs, according to Coach Todd Bowles. The former number one overall pick beat out Kyle Trask for the right to succeed Tom Brady and will start September 10th against my Minnesota Vikings in the opener. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to your Wednesday morning in beautiful Music City. It is Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, on the final day of Tennessee Titans training camp. If you blinked, you might have missed it. Happened fast as the Titans take the practice field today. We recap the blue versus white scrimmage yesterday and get ready for New England coming up on Friday with Rhett, Bryan at 7 o'clock. Pro Football Focus's Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson in studio at 8:20. Inky Johnson providing a little midweek motivation. That and much more over the next 4 hours with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh behind the glass. My name is Will Bowling. It is Wednesday, August the 23rd, and it literally is so humid outside it feels like somebody is stuffing your face with a pillow. Good morning.
That's a way to explain it.
Good morning. That is one vivid explanation right there, Will.
I, in my parking garage, genuinely could not breathe getting in my car. Actually, did a little power walk like Stanley going to pretzel day to get his pretzel to get to my car because I genuinely could not breathe.
Yeah.
I'll never paint that picture right there again. Stanley
He's going to gift this, but it's also 6:04, so maybe it's too early.
When he had his crossword puzzle in front of him, too, or tucked underneath his arm. Pretzel day. We should do a pretzel day here, man, at the station. It'd be good.
Yeah, it's hot out there. Like standing out there in practice.
Yeah.
The shade, you'll get lucky if you get it for 5 minutes on the sideline, and then when that thing goes away, it's like you don't even remember what time it is or how long you've been out there because I think you lose a little bit of consciousness.
Is that how bad it was?
It was hot.
I went for a walk yesterday, and let me tell you, I went at 7 o'clock, and I was just like, you know what? This is much more pleasant than, an hour ago. And I try to be tough guy at times, I'll go out there at 5. Nah, screw that, man.
That's the dead heat at
hot
that time.
Right now. It is hot. They're already changing game times and stuff like that for middle school and high school games and whatnot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have to.
Yeah,
wow.
You have to.
If it's over, I think, 100 heat index or 95, I think.
I think it's 91 temp, and that might be heat index might be different. I forget what the rules are, but
for us, it was always heat index.
Heat index?
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to hit 106 today, tomorrow, and heck, if I'm not mistaken, Friday too.
So that's going to be a sizzling hot game on Friday. Now, it's later.
Yeah.
Thank goodness it's not at a weird random time. But it's still going to be hot.
But that humidity is what sticks around for you right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what have you like pulling your shirt like, man, it's sticky out here. But yeah, this is one last sprint to the finish line for summer. It's like, all right, y'all, before you break out your pumpkins, here we go. Fascinating.
Heat wave.
Yeah, if the heat index is 104, then outdoor practice cannot take place.
Ooh.
And then if heat index is 100 to 104, maximum practice time is 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think if it's from 95 to 99, you have to have 4 separate breaks each hour.
Each hour?
With a minimum duration of 4 minutes each. This was as of 2021.
How do we get in on that?
Wow.
I know we're
Yeah,
inside,
right?
but like I could do with a break every once in a while.
Sure.
Me too. I'm with you on that one. Goodness, an hour. Well, that explains why my youngest yesterday they had a practice from 5:30, 6:30.
There you go.
Where practice was, they shut them down, canceled a little middle school JV game and everything for Thursday. Some parents was upset about that.
Better to probably be
Man.
safe though with that
Yeah.
situation. Those kids are still kids.
Please be
You
safe
know?
about that. Yeah.
Don't need no heat stroke out here.
Do not even a little bit, Kayla, and plenty of water too. As soon as Miles walk in the house, I yell, "Hey, water!
Yeah.
Water up!"
You got those essentials then rocking in the fridge.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. He's drinking
He just
tap
get- he's
water.
getting
Yeah,
tap
he's getting
water.
tap water.
He's got to earn that essential, baby.
Tap water is slept on.
Earn that.
Tap water's great.
It's, yeah, I
If you
don't.
got a filter,
In this city, it's great.
Yeah,
I got to use a filter still.
yeah. Well, the fridge comes with one, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, I'm cool with that. Yeah,
I'm just straight out of the sink.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
He's not putting his head under the faucet.
God.
Well, no, I just get a cup and then turn on the faucet and then,
You're
So
a
it's
faucet
good to drink
drinker.
here.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. I never had an
I'm
issue
still
with
alive
it.
and breathing.
Well,
Some places you can't drink
Don't wish
inside.
otherwise.
I've had
Kill me before
PTSD.
6:15 in the
I
morning.
was
I
not
had
trying to off
PTSD
you.
from certain places. That's why I think I don't drink out of the tap plain.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
Arizona water. You can't be drinking out of the
Really?
straight out of the tap. No.
Oh man,
You got to filter that.
I did not know that because there's so much sediment, because it's so dry.
Yeah, there's not a lot of water there. Think about it,
Well, yeah,
right?
that's
It's
true,
a
too.
desert, so they
That's-
get their water from.
different sources. Or oh wow, did not think about that.
Robert, Ryan in the F&M Bank chat says, y'all get 3 breaks every hour.
Oh,
Shut
geez.
up, Ryan.
So-
Ryan.
Shut up. You're the
Ryan
dude.
this
You're the
morning.
guy that's like, hey, you didn't
Pretty
take our
funny,
homework up. Hey, teacher, you didn't take that quiz we sent home yesterday. Shut up, Ryan.
That's pretty funny.
We need more breaks.
Yeah, Robert wants a 4th, so he's petitioning for a 4th break.
My youngest just texted me this morning. Why do you have your phone? Talking about some dad. I drink core waters.
Wait,
LOL.
he texts you?
Respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Core water's good
Boy,
too.
I've never even heard of that.
if you don't go
like
to
the
school
blue
and
top.
learn something, yeah.
That's funny.
Core is good. It's got antioxidants and stuff in it too, as far as like rehydration.
He's like, Dad, I'm not no tap water.
Hold on. While we're complaining about something, y'all were
Yeah.
talking about a pretzel day.
Yes.
I've got to let y'all know, pretzels are hot garbage.
Like,
All of them. I don't care.
Oh, wow.
All
I was
of them.
about to
Wow.
Soft, hard.
you don't like Auntie Anne's?
I don't like any of them. They're just hard bread. When the best part about eating something is dipping it in something else, it ain't that good in the first place. The redeeming quality is the salt that's clung to the side of its tree bark-like exterior. Pretzels are not. Just eat soft bread at that point. Why are you going to eat something? It does not want to be eaten. It's the cactus of breads. They are terrible. And maybe it's because Cheyenne loves pretzels, and she's always like, "We have pretzels. They're awful. They're sticks and twigs, and no, without the berries." Pretzels are awful.
Is this Cheyenne Hate Week?
Wow.
I just like to give her an honest amount.
Bert, you call them bread with salt?
It's just bread with salt.
So, what are your feelings on tortilla chips?
Man.
Tortilla chips are fine.
Well, but,
Really?
Because they're
all you do is
crunchy.
dip them in other things for that, too.
Sure, but they're crunchy. They have a nice texture.
Well-
Pretzel is like a tortilla chip that you left outside in this humidity.
But it has salt and butter on it. Anything with salt and butter on it is fantastic.
Even Auntie Anne?
I can't deal with Auntie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Auntie Anne's is the fabric with which this country was built.
Sure, you and Cheyenne can go on mall dates then and eat your
Perfect.
Auntie Anne's,
Fantastic.
but I'm just telling you that it is tree bark. It is tree bark and twigs, and you could find a much better snack for your time than a pretzel.
Guess what I'm bringing in Friday?
Pretzels.
Pretzels.
Yeah,
I will not be participating.
There are some places, and there are some like if you go to a ballpark and you get a stale pretzel, that's a bad thing to eat.
Never had a stale pretzel.
Oh, I have.
Well, I feel like you have. You
nasty.
probably have.
I don't think I've ever had a
Like
stale
you go
pretzel.
to like a baseball game in the 6th inning, and your son's like, "Dad, I want a pretzel," and you're like, "Okay." Like, let's go get one. But at that point, they're not fresh.
Okay.
It's just like very, very stale.
At that point, I'm just eating the hail-like salt that has attached itself to it, and I'm leaving the pretzel vessel to be domineered by my girlfriend. She can have the whole thing.
You just gave Cheyenne a hall pass to go on mall dates with Will. Like, that's how much you hate
Anybody, somebody take her to eat pretzels because
I'm
I'm not eating them.
delightful. I'm a great time. What are
I'm
you
not
talking
eating
about?
them no more.
I'm respectful. I'm fun.
It wasn't even about you. It was more or less the fact that he said, take my old lady to the mall and go shop. Look, as much hate as he's had with her.
I'm robbing the cradle, man. She's way younger than I am.
I don't know what to call her anymore, Kayla.
Young lady.
Your boo thing?
That's fine.
Your sweet pea?
It's right across from Zara. If you could just get a gift card
there
for
you
me
go.
while you're
that's
out
right.
there.
It is, huh?
You can take Cheyenne on a pretzel date, get me a Zara gift card. It all evens out.
You are a cheap date, Bert.
615-737-1045 our number. The best thing as a kid was an Auntie Anne's pretzel nuggets and a lemonade as a kid.
That's another pushback I
good
got
one.
for him. It's like it's something you got to dip in something else. Well, what about chicken tenders, Bert? Huh? You dip that in sauce?
No, I can
loves
eat chicken
those.
tenders by themselves.
Oh, I made some homemade chicken tenders last night.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, you cannot get none. He breaded them in pretzels.
There's such thing as that. There is
That
such
is-
thing as that.
That's one of my favorite things at an establishment that was halfway between Nashville and Knoxville. After I'd watch you play football, I would go get some pretzel crunch chicken on the way home.
what I'm
Or
saying?
pretzel
Anyway.
buns. Like, why are we making it harder to eat the thing?
Whoa! All right.
Ooh, I love those.
You can go after pretzels. Pretzel buns, I will not allow you to slam.
I can't deal with it.
A bistro burger with a pretzel bun, beer cheese on it, because beer cheese and pretzels are outstanding.
There's two things that go together right there, Bert. Like you can't cancel pretzels.
Coming up next, we figure out what in the world to do with Robert Walsh. We also scout the New England Patriots on a scout meeting Wednesday. Coming up, I'm doing the rest of the show under protest on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center who understands choosing a hearing care provider is a big decision. Their number one priority is delivering exceptional patient care, and Brentwood Hearing Center staff combines many years of expertise in hearing healthcare. They're well trained on a variety of services ranging from evaluations to treatment, and they understand that treating hearing loss is an ongoing process that requires regular follow-ups, maintenance, and cleanings to keep you hearing your best. The Brentwood Hearing Center staff is here to support you not only during your initial visit, but throughout your entire journey to better hearing. Proudly serving Brentwood from the same location for more than 30 years. Give them a call at 615-377-0420, or you can schedule an appointment online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Again, that's 615-377-0420. Brentwood Hearing Center, better hearing, better life. Wednesday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. You can join us on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling, ready to go for a little scout meeting Wednesday
Yay.
on the New England Football Patriots, who will be here not yet, but on Friday as the Titans take on the Pats. I'm excited for Friday Night Football, and we were talking about this in the college football capacity this weekend. I'm excited to have a cold beverage and football in front of me on Friday in Nashville.
That's going to be good. Will.
I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, that's going to be good. High school football really in full effect right now, too. Titans here. A lot of stuff going on.
I should also say, too, for the people that there is no high school football broadcast this week with the Titans playing Friday night.
That's what I was wondering because I was like, wait a second, Will, how are you doing this when you call games on Friday night? But that's why.
It will be a rare Friday off in the fall for myself,
Wow.
Lucas Panzica, and Jackson Williams.
You driving down to Atlanta Friday or Saturday?
Saturday. I'll be at the Titans game.
Okay. All right. That
Yep.
makes sense then, man. Never mind. No, you got to work Saturday, too.
What do
All
you
right.
mean?
No, I thought you was going to come back for college football here.
I would if I was here.
Vandy.
I know. No, for real.
I'm serious. I would.
I do want to see them fill that thing up. I do.
Yeah, Jimmy White's going. He said it's a little bit of a mess, but like we discussed. But he said, I'll be there.
It was funny watching the Swamp Kings documentary, which we will give a review of later.
Yes.
Is funny, like all the talk about construction happening in the end zone. And you see that 2005 Florida-Alabama game, and there's construction going on in the Alabama end zone.
That's right.
I remember when they did that, too, when they had the big Jumbotron, and they didn't totally have the upper deck in that one end zone. And then I remember when they took that away and added it. We got there like, oh, my gosh. It's actually kind of loud here now.
Dang.
You said kind of loud here now. Yeah. I hated playing down there, but I hated Florida in general. I still do. I know.
No, I'm in Alabama.
Swamp.
Oh, Alabama.
Alabama was the
you're
one
talking about Bama.
filling it in, yeah.
I was talking
Did you
about-
hate playing at Alabama too? Was that?
They weren't too bad.
No,
you gotta think we beat them early on. Like
Yeah.
it was later when they started to just put their foot to the gas pedal and just mash. Like that was like 07-ish.
That atmosphere was not what it is now until what? 07?
07.
Right.
That's when it was. It was 07, Caleb.
Yeah.
Like that atmosphere was nowhere close to what you
To
see
what
now.
it is now.
You didn't
No.
want to go to Florida, and that was it. Florida and LSU,
Florida
I feel
and
like,
LSU.
were the two teams that you did not want to go play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Georgia wasn't like that.
Georgia
No,
was
they
not
were-
like the dog pound it is. And speaking of LSU, Will, because you told the story when you went with Ron down there, when we discussed the Swamp Kings as a whole group here, there was one particular incident when Tebow went to LSU that I was like, "Are you kidding? That happened."
Wow.
The story about the fans there was insane,
How crazy they are?
nasty.
No.
But that was like nasty stories. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no. It's serious down there, Kayla. You got to think that they love night games for a reason.
Oh yeah.
No, they love them for a reason, man. We went down there in 05 after Katrina.
Oh wow.
This is what's so crazy about it. Like, Fulmer always sat in the front seat. Most head coaches sit in the front seat leaving on the bus. We ended up winning that game on some left guard ended up pulling to spring the running back into the end zone. I forget who that was. But yeah, we ended up winning that game. That was me, by the way. We ended up winning that game.
Oh, I remember that game so well.
You remember Gerald Riggs running it in?
Yep.
Kayla, we're leaving. And of course, we weren't supposed to win that. They had the emotions of Katrina. We flew down there that day, Kayla. It was a night game. Nothing was stacked for us to win.
Down by
At
21 at halftime.
Yeah. We come up out of the thing, Kayla, with a dub, and we're excited leaving. No lie, we're leaving out, and their fans hitting the bus. Somebody gets an entire bottle of beer and throws it at the front window at Fulmer, cracks the front window.
What?
They shatter the sides of the window. No, Kayla,
That's crazy.
that's why they love night games.
I mean,
Yeah.
are they on like some like gross crawfish or something that makes them all go crazy?
Kayla, we talking about Louisiana
Swamp
right
people.
here. They might have straight up moonshine in their crawfish. You hear me?
That game was
Hey.
the first
That's
game
crazy.
for me as a kid. I remember thinking, like, you can come back from down by 21?
Yeah.
That's possible? Like, I always remembered that being the number growing up of like, oh, if it's 21, it's over. Because, like, you play, like, video games with a friend, and it's like, oh, you're down by 21, you got to pass the controller.
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah,
let somebody
yeah.
else play. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Like, we didn't pass the controller. Like, we came back and won.
That's that sequence of everything that happened for me, because I was a reserve young guy at the time, right?
Yeah.
That was my red shirt year and everything. And I was like, man, I pretty much finished the LSU game, like, and then the next year I didn't start again. Like, that was some growing pains for your boy. I was like, how?
Yeah.
And then that spring I had just won most improved. Like, I was killing people in practice too. And I was just like, boy, you want to talk about adversity? I was ticked off. I wouldn't have portaled it, but I strongly thought about, like, what the hell am I supposed to do then? Yeah.
Dang.
But in that era of playing, like, you had to, like, push through some stuff.
Yeah, you did.
That was a trying time for you, boy.
It seemed a little
06?
different.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much. Ron Slay in the chat and the FNM Big Chat says they're on everything.
It's true.
yeah, they are. You don't understand. Have you not been
I've
to a
not
night
been to a night game, and no, that's the one stadium covering SEC. I've never.
I hadn't been as a
been to.
fan, but as a player,
Oh yeah,
you and Savage experienced it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a noon game, so it wasn't.
Well, yeah.
It
That was
wasn't
crazy.
quite as bad. They're still complaining about that down there. And, you know, I mean, like, they also muffed the opening kickoff. And all the energy in pregame down there was out the window literally after the opening kick. Like, they got loud for, like, 1 4th down against Tennessee.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we saw it, but we didn't see the full experience of what LSU is. And Tennessee would have won either way. I mean, they won by what? 28
A lot.
points?
Yeah, a
Like
lot.
40-13. So it was close. But anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get to a
Sorry,
full
we got
review
on
of
a
Swamp
bit of
Kings
that.
later. There's not a lot to review because they don't talk about a lot other than whatever Urban Meyer let them talk about. But we will get to that later in the show. But right now, it is time for Scout Meeting Wednesday with one Ramon Foster.
Let's do it. So, I'm excited. There we go.
You talk twice at once.
Good.
The New England Patriots may be coming to Nashville without DeAndre Hopkins, but they will still be in Nashville. Ramon Foster, take it away.
No doubt, man. I'm excited to say one phrase in this breakdown, y'all. Well, let me get it. New England Patriots 1-1 in the preseason. They didn't make the playoffs last year. 8-9 was their record. This one line I wrote down in my notes. Not the same boogeyman as they once were.
Ooh,
I'm proud to say that.
truth.
I'm proud to say that they're probably saving a whole lot of gas money these days. You know why, Kayla? Because not that many people's on their bandwagon these days. You know, the cart's a little light
Brady's
these
gone.
days. Brady's gone. Nobody really fears what they got up there at quarterback. You know, their run game, the defense is still solid. But all in all, they're not the boogeyman anymore. I really want to say all these Tennessee Patriot fans that are also Alabama fans who also cheer for Kentucky basketball. Okay? Does that sum it up?
Yeah, sure.
That'll sum it up right
I'll
there.
allow that.
All right, for sure. There's
Well, I mean, you got a Yankees jersey on today, which is perfect to talk about the Patriots because those are the same fan bases.
They also root for Boston and the Yankees too.
Yeah, 100%.
Both of them. Yeah, you know me. I'm a aficionado of all
Someone's
things
gonna come after
jerseys.
me for
okay?
that one.
Yeah, it don't matter. Will, you know, we're gonna run this thing how we want to. You got me.
That's right.
All right, here we go. Belichick. It's a Belichick-led team. Nashville native, Nashville born. I'll just say there, man. This is where they will probably end up making their hay this year offensively. We'll be on the run game. Ramondre Stevenson, last year, 1,040 yards, 5.0 average, along with J.J. Taylor last weekend in the run game. They averaged 6.8 and 7.3 a rush. You kind of see where they're going, even though that game was ended early. And also this, too, newly signed Ezekiel Elliott and Ty Montgomery are both on this team. I thought the Titans had a deep running back room. This group has a deep running back room, too. Again, when you're in a position where you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your quarterback, new offensive coordinator, I think we know that guy very well here, Bill O'Brien. I think they will be a run style. Whether they run zone the way they did in Houston, we shall see, though. But the fact that they got Ramondre Stevenson, who had 1,000 yards last year. J.J. Taylor's had a good average this year and solid last year, too. Ezekiel Elliott and Ty Montgomery. Goodness gracious. Heavy stack room when it comes down to what they can do offensively. The wide receivers, too, is very interesting. These are the strengths that I can pull out of them, too. Wide receivers, a wide variation of characters. It's just simply the way you said. I don't know if they have a real speed guy. They got possession guys more often than anything. They got dudes that are just young. I don't know what they are as a wide receiver group, but Devontae Parker's on this staff. Juju Smith-Schuster signed coming off the Super Bowl from Kansas City. Also, again, you got to mention Ty Montgomery in that passing game, too. LSU wide receiver who Will may have seen last year, Kayshon Boutte, and second-round pick Tyquan Thornton. A lot of guys with nothing spectacular is the way you got to sum them up. So the run game is something that they would probably strongly suggest as a game plan for Bill O'Brien.
They have a lot of guys who, when healthy, are wide receiver 2s. Juju Smith-Schuster is a wide receiver 2. Devontae Parker is a wide receiver 2. Kendrick Bourne, it may be more like a 3, but I mean, he did have 800 yards in 2021. Wide receiver 2, but they don't have a 1.
And that's what I'm like a wide, like pick one. Okay, what do we, is dink and dunk? I don't know.
Which why they wanted DeAndre Hopkins, right?
Yeah, yes, to that point right there, Kayla, 100%. They do have a really good offensive line led by Trent Brown, very solid. At center, they got David Andrews, and we can't forget about Cole Strange from right down the street and from UT Chat.
That's right.
The surprise of him in the draft a couple years ago, man. And Chat has continued to put guys in the NFL, too. But Riley Reif is another guy, former Saint. Very solid group. They will have protection, but the quarterback play doesn't suggest that they are that good in general. Last year, a strength of theirs, too, the defense was ranked 11th, only giving up 20.4 points per game. So again,
I didn't realize they were that high.
Yes, they were. Their issues were mostly offensive. Their issues became injuries. Their issues became Mac Jones more than almost anything. Again, they don't have Brady anymore to be the wizard that he was offensively.
They do have as much depth at quarterback as I feel like anyone does in the league because they have 4 names that you know at the quarterback position. That in and of itself is an anomaly, I feel like, around the NFL. And it really speaks to the differences in the one cut, right?
It does.
Where at this point in training camp, typically you may have cut 1 or 2 of those quarterbacks off of the roster, but probably just one of them, and are carrying 3 at that point. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Trace McSorley, Malik Cunningham. Cunningham, of course, the rookie out of Louisville, who's in that group, and McSorley, who's been in Arizona, the former Penn State quarterback, Bailey Zappi from right up the road in Bowling Green with Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's an interesting group of quarterbacks that I think will challenge the Titans defense for all 4 quarters this weekend. And I think that's when you talk about scouting the Patriots for a preseason game. Malik Cunningham provides you some different looks that you're not going to get in a 3rd, 4th quarter preseason game very often because he's as athletic as any 4th string, bottom of the depth chart guy that is on an NFL roster right now.
They pretty much look like they built this team like it was a recruiting class. Get as much talent as they possibly can, and we'll sift out what happens in camp. Like, that's the way I look at this team right now. As we continue to go down, I said this O-line this week, I think, will probably have their biggest test, though, as far as the Titans offensive line. Run stopper Christian Barmore plays his role well, but not only just that, though, the tackles that we've been questioning, too, this year, right? Well, they're going to be tested with Matt Judon.
Yeah.
15 and a half sacks last year.
So good.
Josh Uche is also another guy should not be left alone. Had a breakout year. He went from 3 sacks 2 years ago to 11 and a half this past year.
Michigan guy.
Yes.
What accounts for a jump like that?
Learning how to rush, opportunities possibly also, and just finding ways to finish. That's usually the difference between pressures and sacks is finishing the actual play. You know, he had a big old jump last year because of that. But I got other guys I didn't write down in as well. The same way you said about what they are as wide receivers, they got the same thing defensively. Dietrich Wise Jr. is another guy, a name that you know. I think he had 7-8 sacks last year, too. Devon Gachau is another guy, too. Lawrence Guy Sr. is another guy. Jawan Bentley playing linebacker. But even behind him, Trey Flowers, they re-signed him back from the Lions last year. They got a lot of names that you know, but I don't know what you're going to get out of those guys. It really does look like a team that's a recruiting class.
Well, and you said names you know, and maybe if you're really, really football savvy, right?
Yeah.
But if you're the average kind of just viewer or something, you're going to look at a roster like this or you're going to hear these names called, and you're probably going to be like, well, who is that?
Yeah.
Which is always amazing on a Bill Belichick team because when they had Brady, you had Brady, and it really didn't matter who else you had.
Right.
You'd always get some name sprinkled in there. But things that I always realize about New England is they always just do it their way.
They do.
And you're never going to have like all the shining stars there, but somehow Bill Belichick sprinkles his coaching in and he comes out with something magical. Now that hasn't happened in the past few years without Brady. So that's the crazy part.
So yes, that's the difference maker for this team because I went down to their weaknesses too, and I started with this. We don't know what the Patriots are. They seem to have bought a lot of cheap guys and free agency, but they don't know what they're getting out of them, and at some point they're going to have to cut those guys too. Their biggest issue is to what you said, though, their quarterback. What is it? In fact, they got a room full of number twos. What is Mac Jones moving forward? Heck, Bailey Zappi had a whole lot more buzz around him than Mac Jones did last year, too. Mac Jones had 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions last year.
84.8 quarterback rating, but he didn't have an offensive coordinator. I mean, Matt Patricia was his offensive coordinator.
You good with Bill O'Brien?
Nope.
I was about to say.
That's what I'm saying. Is
Okay.
that you can make that argument, but at the same time, and Adam says that in the F&M Bank chat, says the problem was Mac Jones because the real problem was they didn't have an offensive coordinator. I don't know how big of an upgrade Bill O'Brien is on Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be worse.
Right.
You can't be. In this edition of this big room of running backs, to me, and the fact that they do have a solid offensive line, I can see that be something that they're leaning on. It's a matter of how Bill O'Brien is going to craft this offense. That's essentially just what it is. I'm not down on their defense. The defense, I think, is very solid. Yeah. They're going to get after you. They always do in special teams, too. They will make you sweat in special teams and get those hidden turnovers and hidden yardages, okay, plays. Offensively is where their problems lie. No real solid wide receiver, no real play at friggin' quarterback, and they just lean on bad coordinators. Again, tight end game too, Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, who from Miami.
Right, and that at points had decent careers, but here, both. Jonnu Smith was not utilized last year in this offense. Now he's down in Atlanta. That's kind of an example of a guy that thrived here and didn't do anything there and was there for a short amount of time. And you were talking about the offensive coordinator, Ramon. It's very interesting because it's a similar situation to the Titans where you have a new offensive coordinator. You know a lot about Bill O'Brien from what he's done in other places, Houston, he was at Alabama, but it's interesting because I'm sure they're probably saying, well, do they believe 100% in Tim Kelly? Right. Like 100%. We're kind of saying that about Bill O'Brien. I feel more comfortable saying Tim Kelly's got his stuff together. I feel like he's the right fit here. Bill O'Brien just has had too many little things along his career, right? I don't know if I can trust him.
No doubt about it. And his system, we'll see if he moved that Texan system up to New England.
Right.
Because that did work for a good bit.
615-737-1045 is our number if you want to join us. Yesterday, the Titans' newest kicker had his first day. We moved the kicker minute up a little bit this morning with a new face, a familiar face back at the practice field. Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I'm here to tell you about my experience with them as I tell you how good they are. One, when they come to your house, well, before they come to your house, you will get a notification, a text message with a picture of the tech that's coming to your house, the vehicle that they are in, the license plates, and all their credentials, just as safe as you can possibly have, okay? You don't have to worry about some stranger pulling up. They knock on your door, ring your doorbell. Guess what? They put on those foot covers, shoe covers as soon as they walk in, so they don't want to track anything in. But what they do is they have a whole lot of positive reviews. One from me. They worked on low voltage. They worked on the plumbing in my house, my HVAC, all the things that you can imagine. They've installed cameras at my house too. That's how much I trust the work that Hiller does. 100% satisfaction is what they offer, and they deliver it every single time. They're family owned and operated too, and been in business since 1990. I'm telling you, if you need anything done around your house, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical is a company that you can just call for anything, and they will service it. They won't oversell you, and they'll itemize everything about the job that they're tasked to do at your house. It's been times where I've called them and said, hey, we can't get out there till Thursday when it's a Monday. Guess what they do? They'll call me back either that evening or the next day to send a tech out to be like, hey, we've somebody freed up and we have a gap for you. That's the service that you're looking for, something that's speedy, something that's efficient, and something that you can trust. Go to happyhiller.com if you have issues with your home, and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
Wrapping up hour one on your Wednesday morning of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll have Rhett Bryan stop by for his weekly visit here on the show. You can join us at 615-737-1045. Michael Badgley had his first day as a Titan yesterday. New kicker brought back in after his one game as a Tennessee Titan in 2021. And did not have a great start yesterday.
No.
7 for 10. Had makes from 29, 41, 47, 33 twice. 3 times, actually, and 38. And then he missed from 33, 43, and 48. Also missed a 44-yard field goal at the end of a 2-minute period before making kicks from 33 and 50 at the end of practice. Badgley was 9 of 13 in his first day as a Tennessee Titan.
Yeah, and you wonder, like, how much grace do you give a guy who just literally arrived here, just got cut by the Commanders, and gets here, and it's like, okay, do you give him grace? I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this now because you're a kicker. You have one job. I don't care what atmosphere it is. It's not like it was, like, crazy elements. It was hot. That's about it yesterday. Yeah. You kind of have to come in here and make an instant impression on them, but it looks like, I know there was jokes going around, oh, he'll be cut after this practice. Obviously, they're going to run with him right now and see what he does in the game, probably. Ramon's laughing over here, but I'm not joking, Ramon. This is a situation. And it's funny. I completely forgot he was here in 2021 because it was such a hot second that I was like, oh, yeah, he was here.
I look at this situation of kickers, and I say they should be put under fire. I think they should.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care about them coming off of a flight and going straight to the practice field if that was the case. Like, everybody's in a pressurized vacuum when it comes down to doing the job in the NFL.
Right. Do you get flight foot? I mean, what
flight foot? I don't know what he got. I'm looking at him and saying, dog, make these kicks. Like, that's one thing guys will always say is, the way we've always perceived, like, the specialists on the team as, look, you got one job. And you got a whole lot more free time than any of us on this practice field. Figure out how to get past your psyche to get us points whenever we need them. Yeah. Like 9 for 13, that'll get you laid off right there too.
Well, here he is after practice. Michael Badgley talking to the media post-practice at St. Thomas Sports Park.
I'm older, I guess is the only way to put it. That was back in 2021, so, I mean, stats, I guess, are out there for whatever. Yeah.
You've probably already been asked this, so I apologize. But, I mean, all anybody in this league wants is an opportunity.
Sure.
And here you go.
Yeah, just make the most of it. It's part of the gig. Just go out there and make some kicks.
What was all the logistics for you in regards to them getting the call and getting here from all that? How was all that?
Got a call after got released from Washington and then got in last night, and here we are.
What did you kind of know? Anything about this organization or anybody here that you were familiar with?
Yeah, so I mean, I was here for a game in 2021, opened up the season. But so there's just, I guess, maybe a few guys. But I mean, I literally just got into the locker room this morning and we were out at practice.
Does it change anything that you're the only guy?
I got to do my job. That doesn't really matter who's where or what. Just go out there and keep it simple.
My hunch is that he will not be the only guy by the time Friday rolls around.
Yeah.
I would hope not.
I think they need to bring somebody in.
Competition's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's where the gap week is going to come into play.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, they got to get this figured out, though. Points got to be had this year. Have to be.
In another cut, I think it was Jim White asking a question. He asked him if he's going to beat himself up over a bad first day of practice. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm not going to beat myself up over practice. It's like, well, buddy, like, it's kind of the only opportunity you have. Like, you should beat yourself up over something. You're going 9 to 13 in your first day.
Sure.
That's like showing up and not putting your name on the paper. Like, come on, man.
Name and date.
Without giving too much detail, because I don't want to like call out specific anything, but I'll just say when you were watching the kicker in the scrimmage yesterday, and I was watching the sidelines specifically, there was a little bit of size of like, oh geez.
Oh.
Like this kick?
I'm telling you.
Oh geez.
And they should feel that pressure. Okay, they should feel that pressure. We do stuff in front of the kickers, like run in front of them before they kick the ball, just because the game day settings for them are a little bit different. They should feel the pressure of the crowd or their teammates wanting them to make kicks. So
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
And it was there.
You can't play around with this kicker position. Like, find somebody and let it stick.
On the way out in hour one, is the Titans' week 1 kicker currently on the roster? Yes or no?
No.
I can't say yes because I've seen him here before, and I know that get second chances, okay, but it didn't start well, so I'm going to say no.
I think yes, but I think their week 3 kicker isn't.
So keep him for a couple weeks, okay.
That's a good way to put
I think
it.
he'll lose the job after getting it at a camp.
I think Kayla's point was worded right. I can't say yes.
615-737-1045, our number. More from Titans training camp coming up next as Rhett Bryan joins the show. With Kyle Phillips out, who needs to take advantage of his absence the most, plus the defensive player who's surprised Rhett the most? Coming up next as well, right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
7:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. We had some terrible news yesterday as the father of Titans cornerback Caleb Farley died in an explosion that destroyed the NFL player's North Carolina home and left another person injured. When asked for comment, head coach Mike Vrabel said this.
What's most important is that we do everything that we can to support them emotionally, teammates, coaches, organization, just shocking, but also got to focus on Caleb and his family.
The Titans have agreed to terms with veteran kicker Michael Badgley, nicknamed the Money Badger. Badgley was Detroit's kicker last season and made 20 of 24 of his field goal attempts, and with a long of 53. He has a long of 59 for his career, and he has an 81% field goal percentage. But the Titans aren't the only team with wide receiver injury woes, as Seahawks rookie wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba has yet to undergo a surgery for a minor wrist fracture and is seeing a hand specialist for a second option. They are maintaining an optimistic look, but Pete Carroll mentioned that they are hoping for a 3 to 4 week deal. And the Bucs, it's time to bake! The Bucs are going to go with Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback, head coach Todd Bowles announced yesterday. The former number 1 overall pick beat out Kyle Trask for the right to succeed Tom Brady and will start the September 10th opener at Minnesota. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Wednesday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, previewing a little bit of Friday Night Lights in Nissan Stadium. Titans and Patriots coming up right here in beautiful Music City, USA. And we've got just the man to preview that and more. He is the one and only Rhett Bryan, the executive producer of Titans Radio, joining Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh behind the glass, myself, Will Bowling. Rhett, welcome. Good morning.
Hello, ladies and gents.
What's
How we
up?
doing?
Morning, Red.
We're good. I don't want to start off on too somber a moment, but I do want to say about Caleb Farley. I just can't get him off my mind since we started hearing the news about this yesterday morning. And, the young man has had so much tragedy in his life. His mother battled breast cancer off and on through his formidable years and then succumbed to cancer actually in 2018. And I'm sure there's not a day goes by I didn't think about her. And then this happens with this explosion with his house in North Carolina. And, listen, it's all speculative, but it looked like a natural gas leak explosion because the house was obliterated. The dormers over the garage is about the only thing recognizable from the shot I saw of the house before and after. And I just, regardless of what he's going through as a player here, he's a human being with a heartbeat and a soul, and he's lost his other parent. And I saw the foolishness going on Twitter yesterday, and of course that got taken care of. If we lose traces of human kindness, we're doomed. And look, I'm not trying to be Captain Soft, sappy guy here, but I mean, at a human level, you have to care about your fellow person, your fellow human. And regardless of the injury situations he's been dealing with and being on the PUP list and all of that, he's had a horrific thing happen to him. So let's guard our words pretty careful on that and just, continue to pray for him and his family because that's what he needs.
Can
Absolutely.
I add to that, Rhett, just being around Caleb the last couple of years and when he was drafted, Caleb has been nothing but a stand-up guy in terms of dealing with us, even through all the stuff he's been through.
Sure.
He has been an ultimate pro. I remember when we were at locker cleanout last year, he was there, and I felt a need to go up to him and just say, keep fighting, keep battling, keep doing your thing. And he was so appreciative of that. And I just felt like, I know things go on in football and we can pick apart people, and it's our job sometimes too, but this is a human being who has endured so much early on in his life.
Sure.
And I just want him to know, like, we're all here behind him, and those Tennessee Titans, his teammates, like in Mike Vrabel, like you couldn't ask for a better crew to support in
Correct.
a situation like
I
this.
agree with that wholeheartedly. And seeing that clip of him this morning from the local news there saying my dad was a stand-up guy and he taught me to be a stand-up guy. Boy, if that doesn't get you.
Right.
Holy Moses.
Right.
I can't imagine what the young man's going through right now. You know, it's just a pile of rubble where his home was. And on top of that, that's horrific enough as it is. And on top of that, your dad is no longer here. So,
And for
that's
the world
just
to know too, Rhett.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing about it. Like it's public that this is happening. You're
That's
a public
right.
figure. Like so you
That's right.
handling this in front of
You're right.
everybody.
That's right. And I'm so glad you said that, Caleb, because, you know, I've covered this. This is my 27th season covering this team. I covered them as the Tennessee Oilers. And I do it with pride because my whole thought process when I was very young, when I was Will's age, learning how to cover the NFL, didn't know a thing about how to do it because we didn't have a team here. The first thing I made it my mission, and I've always tried to do, is to humanize these gentlemen who wear these nameplates and numbers because they're people like we are. They happen to have one of the coolest, most exclusive jobs in the world and can become a superstar and provide for their families beyond anybody's wildest dreams, but they're humans. They put on their pants one leg at a time just like we do. And I've always had a good, healthy relationship on some small level with many, many players over the years because I've always tried to bring that human element in trying to anything. Well, sometimes it's tragedy, sometimes it's triumph, sometimes it's something funny, whatever it is, to find so that Titans radio listeners who are been so good to us at the broadcast, so that they can relate to them as humans and then, you know, just share their stories. I've always tried to do that, and I want to continue. I will never stop doing that. Like I'm putting together a feature for Caleb Murphy for the pregame Friday night, and you know, I'm fascinated by his story because here's a guy from Ferris State that is invited to the combine. You don't get invited to the combine from Ferris State if you're not doing some stuff. He broke Matt Judon's FCS sack record. He had 39 quarterback sacks in his last 2 years in college. And, you know, a guy that by all indications is a great young man in the small windows I've talked to him, both at the combine and over the summer here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Those are the stories. That's what I love to tell this time of the year. Like last year I told Sam Okawanu's story, and just here's a guy from a war-torn country in West Africa that, you know, didn't see his dad for a while, and just the struggles that people have gone through just to get to things that we take for granted every day. Those are the real moments for me. That's what I get
100%.
excited about preseason. Now, by George, I'm ready to get it over Friday night because 2 weeks from Sunday at noon in New Orleans, it's go time.
We were talking about that earlier in terms of the calendar, that it does feel like the middle to end of August is the most difficult part of the sports calendar because you are so close to football, but you don't have the full meal. You've got a little bit of an appetizer, but it's when you're sitting, you eat the appetizer too fast, and you're sitting there waiting like, dang it, now I'm really hungry, and I can't have the full meal yet.
No. And the full meal comes this weekend because we're in week 2 of high school football. Thank the good Lord for those young men, and let's watch over those this weekend as it's going to be hotter than the gates of Hades. And then college football starts to crank up, and you get that. And when we get Friday, Saturday, Sunday rolling, that's where that's my happy place. God, I love that so much.
No doubt.
And we're right on the doorstep of that. But I know these guys are tired of hitting on each other in practice, and it's been a grind for them. And you know, this is the nitty gritty here. This is where, you know, after Friday night, they have one massive cut to get down to 53 by 3 o'clock next Tuesday, and that's all rosters will do. And you know, while the goal for Mike Vrabel and his coaching staff is to have this be tough every time that the calendar clicks around this time of year, because you're doing things right with your personnel, it's still got to be heartbreaking to, put that news out to a guy and say, listen, we really like what you've done for us. And we want to put you on the practice squad, or we're going to have to move forward. And, because really and truly, there's only 4, maybe 5 spots on this roster that are up for grabs right now. And you've got 90 guys fighting for it.
That's so crazy.
And we'll get into that coming up with Rhett Bryan, who joins us here this morning on the show. We've got Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson coming by at 8:20. We'll get into a Titans offensive line discussion with Ramon Foster later on in the show as well. But I want to continue diving into the defense with Rhett Bryan this morning. The defensive player who has surprised him and us the most over training camp this offseason. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Hey, it's Will Bowling. You've heard me talk about how Lee Company is all you need for your home, but they're also all you need for your facility. That's right. Their expert technicians on the facilities team have you covered not just for HVAC, but for plumbing and electrical too. From healthcare facilities to industrial and everything in between, Lee Company is available 24/7, 365 to keep your building running efficiently. So whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a business owner, anything in between, call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or contact them online at leecompany.com. They've been in business for nearly 80 years for a reason. They've been helping people like us for a long time here in Middle Tennessee, and you need to call them to help you as well. Facility managers, they are all you need at 615-567-1000. They're online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need. It's RKW, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. The one and only Rhett, Bryan in studio with us. Us being Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, and Will Bowling. Rhett, what are we listening to right now?
This is Billy Joel. It's All About Soul from his 12th studio album release off of River of Dreams in 1993.
Outstanding.
And I don't know. I've just been kind of in that mood this morning. That's what I listened to driving in this morning.
Nice.
And William Joel is one of my favorite artists of all time. Brilliant piano musician, lyricist, songwriter, the whole bit. But yeah, this is, I don't know, it's good.
That's a good deep cut to one of my favorite Office quotes ever. When Dwight Schrute plays For the Longest Time on the recorder. And he goes, that was For the Longest Time by William Joel.
Your favorite artist, William Joel.
William Joel.
Oh, wow.
The instrument, the recorder?
I've thought about that quote
Okay.
for the longest time.
Yeah.
Of course. Love it.
That is one of my favorite songs, actually, is For the Longest Time.
Well, I wonder why, Mr. Acapella guy.
I know. Because my brother and sister were in an acapella group that did it in 2004 when they were in high school.
What was Nard Dogg's acapella group? I can't.
Here Comes Treble.
Here Comes Treble. That's right. That's
Comes
right.
I like that.
Broccoli Rob, played by Stephen Colbert.
And Butt Mud Brooks.
That's right. Aced all my courses. They call me Ace. Anyway, Rhett Bryan in studio with us. We could literally do this all day. Rhett, with Kyle Phillips going down in Minnesota, who needs to take advantage of his absence the most? Who are you looking for Friday to get added opportunities? Because this team doesn't have a lot of healthy wide receivers at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't sign a receiver to get him through the rest of the week. But that's above my pay grade. If I'm looking, I mean, I would say immediately Kearis Jackson, but Kearis Jackson is in the same boat. We don't know exactly what his injury is, but don't know if he's going to be available Friday night. I would say him, but I'm going to tell you right now, how about Eric Guerrer?
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo.
Eric Guerrer returned punts in college. He told us he returned 3 for touchdowns. 1 was called back on a penalty, but he had 2 last year. And had a 72-yarder in a bowl game a couple of years prior. And look, you're like, but Rhett, he's tiny. I'm like, I don't care. It's not the size of the fight and the dog. It's the dog and the fight, right?
Yep.
5'8", 174. He's fearless.
Yep.
And the guy has been a scrapper. Apparently, looks like his whole life. He's a Mobile, Alabama guy. Appeared in 62 games in college. He's one of these, still in the COVID era where guys get just play. And I like his energy. By all of his accounts and things I read and seen when he was in college, he was the guy that brought the energy every day in practice, every game, and it became infectious. And that's the kind of person that I think Mike Vrabel and Craig Aukerman in this case would want. But he's shown a capability to do it in college, and I would like to see him continue to get opportunities Friday night. And
he's done that in terms of just practice and games consistently this entire training camp.
Yeah, he's one of these stacking days guys. And like I said, I love his energy and his grit and determination because, like I said, he's 5'8", 174, but he is not scared of a grizzly bear. He doesn't care. And he just goes out there.
You're right. I was watching him on the sideline yesterday during the scrimmage. And sometimes I feel like with some of these big voices on the team, especially on the defensive side, you're like, well, okay, what is my role? Like, can I be that energy guy? Being a rookie? He didn't care. He was out there on the sideline after a play or after defense, and he was talking and he was energizing. And I thought that was cool to see.
Those are the kinds of vibes that you would want in those environments because Ramon, nobody knows it better than you. This thing's a grind.
It is a grind, and you gotta have a dash to the finish too. And this is that week where you do those types of things. So seeing Eric Guerrero being a guy right now that's pushing. That hadn't quit on himself. Kearis Jackson's in that boat too. Trayshawn is in that conversation. Like there's a few guys on this team that you're saying Armani Marsh, is in that conversation. So it's a group of guys right now that are, I think, separating from the pack as it comes down to the close. I really do hate it for Karras because I'm like, gosh, it's a big opportunity, and I don't know what's going to happen today and going into the weekend. Hopefully he has that opportunity to play. But that'd be good. But all he did was open up for Eric Gurr, though. Like, legitimately, him being a punt returner, kick returner, like, that is a great place to be. But not only that, though, Rhett, the other storylines around it as far as the special teams goes, we were speaking about them. What is Hassan going to be able to do this weekend, too? Like, I'm looking for that cluster of guys to sift out who's going to be the kick returner, punt returner, and make a splash when it comes down to their secondary positions.
Are you talking about Hassan Haskins?
Yeah, Hassan Haskins.
And we don't know his status because
No.
he's apparently been banged up. So film at 11 on that one, right?
Right.
And then I
Right.
heard your tease earlier. You said the defensive player that I've been somewhat surprised at or whatever. Of course, Eric Garrett could certainly be in that conversation. But I'm going to tell you somebody that I like and clearly the head coach likes is Otis Reese. Otis Reese, 6'3". Now, he's light in the rear end at 214. He's, undrafted rookie from Ole Miss. He's a guy, and you saw him in Minnesota the other night. He'll stick his nose in there now.
Yes, he will.
Man, he ain't talking about another guy that's not afraid and is not allergic to contact, as they sometimes say.
Yeah.
He likes to contact.
Throw his face in the fan is what you
Yeah,
say.
he
don't
absolutely
question it.
No,
Yeah.
he'll do his Darth Vader impression in front of the box man and everything. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's a guy that I've started to watch more and more as we get into this, and I'm sure he will put some more things on film on Friday night. But Otis Reese, that's a guy, and you could certainly say Caleb Murphy. Caleb Murphy, just on the stat sheet. Now, I don't know what the coach's film says. Usually it's more numbers there, but 7 tackles, I forget, multiple quarterback hits, hurries, pressures, and 3 quarterback sacks. And, that's a young man where the conundrum is, how do you keep him a Titan?
Yeah.
Because as I talked about before we went to break, there's truly probably 4, maybe 5 spots available on this roster. But yet Caleb Murphy has done enough in a coveted position at pass rusher to where you'd have to waive him to try to put him on the practice squad if you're going that route and hope that nobody picks him up. And then if you put him on the practice squad, someone could sign him off of there and they would have to put them on their active roster. But the guy's got enough, as Coach Mack would say, water in his bucket so far that he would be an attractive, acquisition. So, and you're looking at the edge rushers and look, Rashad Weaver, I look for him to have a nice year because the NFL body he's put on himself this offseason is evident. And he knows the clock's ticking and he wants to get as many because, Harold Landry is back. And so, but as a situational pass rusher and wants to be much more than that, I wouldn't bet against Rashad Weaver. I would not.
Rhett, we asked you about we talked about Monty Rice the other day, just the linebacker, room, and he's missed some practices, and you've had some other guys like you had mentioned, Otis Reese, who we've seen a lot of. What do you feel like Monty at this point? Do you feel like he's at the point he needs to be, or like do we need to see more of him? I guess there's just a kind of a situation where we're not sure what we're getting out of him.
I think if you ask the coaching staff, they need to see more out of him. Because, look, we're looking at the unofficial depth chart when it's released, and guess who's there and who's not. And Dr. Jack Gibbons is there, and he's not in that proposed number ones. So that's kind of where you start taking stock of this. And clearly he's working through something, and it's at the most inopportune time. And you're talking about a guy who was a 3rd-round pick. Yeah. So,
in 2021.
So, but I would think that they would love to see more from Monty Rice. And look, Jack Gibbons is not as athletic as Monty Rice is. But what Jack Gibbons has in the other part of it is he's a smart player. Yeah. Coach Mack and I were talking about this the other day. He said, he reminds me of a guy that I coached years ago when I was here with Jeff Fisher in Brad Castle. Brad Castle was a guy that went to North Texas, and they kind of snuck him in here under the guise that he was a long snapper, but he never snapped in his whole life, but became a really nice player. In fact, I believe he still holds the Titans record, air quotes here, for tackles in a game. He had one in season ender at the end of the year against the Lions. I think he had 19 tackles. So Jack Gibbons, Vrabel gave him the nickname Dr. Gibbon because he was answering all the questions in the meeting room. So that's the part of this. I mean, cerebral part of this. Is he as athletic as Monty? Probably not, but he's a super smart guy. The thing I wanted to ask while we're all sitting here, Coach Mack and I were not able to go to the practice yesterday with the blue versus white scrimmage, and I'd love to hear your takeaways, Kayla, of just how spirited it was and certainly competitive. Because, Mike Vrabel dropped that on us on the Mike Vrabel show on Monday night here on The Zone, talking about how, he said, well, here's what we moved to. We didn't get the joint practices, and he said Coach T against John Stryker stretch. And he said they got so competitive, they were down to drafting, equipment guys and trainers. And so I'm like, well, where does John Takahashi get drafted? And these equipment gurus and Matt Thompson and Joey Barranco. And, I'm interested to hear how that went. I'd love to see those draft boards. But I wanted to get your take on what it was like yesterday in sweltering temperatures.
And it was really hot. I was telling the guys, like, at some point you lose even track of time because you're so hot. Your brain just kind of goes into sizzle mode, I guess.
Opposite of brain freeze. Brain fry.
Brain melts, right.
Yeah.
And we were on the sideline of Stretch, obviously's team, the white team.
Yeah.
And so you observed a lot from that sideline, which did not lack any energy. And you had Arden Key on that side, Jeffrey Simmons on the opposite side, who you could hear across the way. But I thought it was as competitive as you could get for this time of the year, knowing that the joint practices kind of dissolved quickly. There wasn't a lot of heads up on that.
Right.
And I think the guys at this point of camp, from what we heard from them yesterday, they wanted to have something like this. And I thought, from what we were seeing with Ryan Tannehill versus Malik Willis, you had some of the really big defensive players on the other side in blue, and Derrick Henry, who had a couple of really good runs. And then you saw the continued, success of Julius Chestnut that he's having in the preseason and what he's doing in preseason games, and the encouragement from the sideline from him on some of those runs, and then just some of the defensive plays that were made. It was a good back and forth. And when we talked to the guys afterwards, it was almost like they were trying to say, well, who really won, right? Because it was that close in the end, because the blue kind of came back.
And see, what a smart move!
Show.
What a smart move by Mike Vrabel to do this in a place where you still need to get some juice out of that before you head into this thing.
Sure.
And all these guys know the clock's ticking. Yep. And for guys who, like Jeffrey Simmons, who he's not going anywhere, he's making this team, right? Newsflash,
Right.
To get these guys through in what is the end of this thing before you get to the regular season, I think it's a great move in this. So, Stretch. His team had Ryan Tannehill. Is that what I'm picking up? Okay.
Yeah.
So if Coach T has Jeff Simmons, that must have been his first pick.
Had to have been.
Because that was his guy anyway.
One of them had to have been the first pick, and the other one had to be the second pick.
Yeah.
I think so,
and then you're
too.
telling me Coach T had Derrick Henry as well.
He did.
Interesting.
And he had Harold Landry, which afterwards Harold spoke at the podium, and he's so great. I love Harold. He's getting used to the media at this point because he's never been like that guy. Right?
I think he cringes every time he has to talk about.
He's gotten better
anything.
though, and they were joking with him about, so where were you drafted, Harold? And it kind of made a joke out of the whole thing, and he played along, and it was great because he's like, I have no idea, and they're like, are you sure? Like, are you not happy with your draft status? Like, it was really funny because they were all saying they don't know how they drafted it. Like, it's almost
That's
like
interesting.
It was an inside thing.
And so, and then you're telling me Stretch had Arden Key.
Yes.
So I can now see, because Mike Vrabel, I know he loves Arden Key and wanted him to come here and be a tight. I can see Mike Vrabel in the war room pounding the desk for, "You've got to take Arden Key. You've got to take Arden Key, Stretch. What's wrong with you?"
And Vrabel had to shush Arden early on in the scrimmage because Arden was coming out on the field.
Well, he's
in some
turned it up to
parts.
11 all the time anyway, so I can imagine what he's like in that environment with the way it was.
He says, "Arden."
Did he shut him off?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
He did the Dwight Schrute unshun.
Reshun.
I wonder then, who was he going at? Like, he had to have been affecting somebody, Caleb, if that's the case.
That man, I swear, you guys,
man.
I think he's going to have a huge effect just in general.
I
for
think
this team.
you're right. And,
wow.
And you know what? I cannot wait to see. And this is just like Danico Autry when he came here a couple of years ago against the Colts. I can't wait to see Arden Key against the Jaguars. I can't wait for that. All the violence, bring it, please.
All the violence,
100%.
right?
Here for it. Rhett, Bryan here with us here on RKW. Talking about the Titans keeping the best 53 players. And I think there's one way specifically. The NFL estimates with rule changes to the kickoff that 38% of kickoffs being brought out will go to 31%. Is the estimate by the league going into this season now with the ability to fair catch inside the 25 and just get the ball on the 25-yard line.
Yeah.
I'm curious when it comes to picking the best 53 players, in your estimation, talking to Coach Mack, just spending time around Titans radio crew and around the team, do you see a scenario where the kickoff and a special teams Swiss Army knife isn't as heavily emphasized? Does that help a guy like Caleb Murphy, who might not be special teams tackler, or maybe it helps him in some ways that he doesn't have to play as many roles and can just be a fourth edge rusher? Because as you know, this team a lot of times has only kept 3 edge rushers on the original 53.
Yeah. And I think what you bring up is a valid point because of the tweaks of the rules. I think it in this case, it depends on what Mike Vrabel perceives as the value there. Because, I mean, we know he's on the competition committee, and I'm sure he's already thought about this months and months ago as to, what, because he's that kind of guy. But what you bring up is valid. And, at the end of the day, this all is a numbers game. And you pretty much know how many receivers you're going to keep, how many offensive linemen, all of those things. And at some point, when you get down to that last, 4 or 5 spots, you've got to look at who's doing what for sure. I don't know if that person loses value, but if you don't have a Devin Hester back there,
right?
Maybe that is different for you,
Sure.
Or maybe you think your guy's going to be Devin Hester,
Right.
Yeah.
But this is the most intriguing part about this is when it comes to a close, because you've got to get through Friday night. And you hopefully get through it unscathed without any more bodies on the injury list. And then you start working on the 53. And then, again, Rand Carthon, remember, when he was hired, he kept referencing, a lot of the things I do and a lot of the way I've learned was the way that John Robinson operated. And when you say, hey, man, like what you're doing, I'm just trying to get Mike better. Just trying to make Mike and this team better. I'm just here for that. And that after these cuts, when all these hundreds of guys are turned out into the street, there's going to be a change there. And if it's not in week 1, it'll be in week 2 because you're not on the hook for their salary for the entire season in week 2 going forward. So even if a guy, because I heard you guys talking about Michael Badgley, he might be the kicker week 1, but he might not be the kicker week 3.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, Mike Vrabel answered that yesterday in the post-practice presser. You would get that impression. Well, he's the next guy to, take a shot at it, take a crack at it.
Right.
So, there's always those moving parts to it. They're always going to try to, as you say, get that best 53. And so I feel like both Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon will churn the options to make the back of that roster the best it possibly can.
Definitely.
Love it. Great stuff as always with Rhett, Bryan. I feel like we need to bring Friday night lights. It feels like we're going to a high school football game, but it's pro football. Should we bring cowbells, streamers, the little vuvuzela trumpets? Just
No.
make it like a high school
No,
football
wait a
environment.
minute. That might
not be
no
allowed.
vuvuzelas. This is North American oval
Well, no,
brown
but you know what I
pigskin.
meant. Like
No,
that,
we're not.
high school football. That was
We're
a
not
thing
infusing.
too.
We're not infusing soccer.
They just
here.
weren't.
We're not
called
infusing
vuvuzelas,
soccer.
They were just called
We're
horns.
not infusing soccer.
Anyway,
we're not
okay.
infusing soccer. I love you, Will, but we're not infusing
I don't
soccer.
know what else to call them because like there is an American word for those probably, but I just always think of them as vuvuzelas.
I think it's Dwight Schrute's recorder.
Okay.
There we go.
All comes back
What?
to the recorder.
No? Okay. No, I would love that as a vibe. That'd be cool to have a Friday Night Lights feel to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As those young men in high school getting ready to go, it's going to be how hot Friday night?
Yeah, right.
What?
Yep.
Love it, Rhett. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Rhett.
y'all.
Appreciate it, Rhett.
Coming up, what Will Levis had to say off the practice field yesterday about his status for this weekend. Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural Systems. And when it comes to large home repairs, a lot of the time we homeowners pretend we don't see the warning signs. We're afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It can be something big that needs to be fixed now, or it could be a small problem that'll become bigger later, or it could be nothing at all. Bottom line, we don't know, and we certainly don't want to be sold something we don't need, which a lot of companies do. But I'm here to tell you, we need a peace of mind, and United Structural System is the company to give you that. We have over 25,000 100% satisfied residential customers, and here's how they've made that happen. When USS comes out to your house, you're getting problem solvers who provide a peace of mind to their customers, the homeowners. You're not getting someone who's worried about meeting a sales quota or upselling the next big thing, but someone there to educate you and help you understand what's happening with your home. At USS, their only measure of success is how satisfied the homeowner is and not a closing ratio. The best part about them, too, is their employees they've kept year after year. Some have been at USS for 25 plus years, so when they show up to your house, you see a familiar face, somebody that understands how USS works. Their integrity is on the line when they show up to your house. It's one of the best things that they sell you on is the fact that you can trust them because homeowners trust USS. Keeping homes dry and stable, they guarantee their best every single time. USS serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. And you can find them online at USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Wrapping up the first half of the show on a Wednesday morning. We are Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, and we will have a full studio in hour 3. PFF's Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo stopping by, hanging out with us in 30 minutes. You could join us in the meantime at 615-737-1045. Ryan Tannehill yesterday, 13 of 18, and Kayla had several long touchdown passes for his team.
Yes, he did. So my notes are so sloppy. I feel like I am literally a third grader when I write out there because you're just going play after play and you're jotting down things. But I have in some brief notes here, Tannehill to Chig, great catch by Chig. That one stood out to me. And then the thing that continues to just draw my attention, and it's no surprise, but Tannehill and D-Hop just – that connection that has happened so quickly and that continues to just build because D-Hop is him. Mm-hmm. But also, I just feel like Tannehill has a luxury now that he necessarily hasn't had in the past with a type of receiver like that.
Absolutely.
Got to give you confidence as a quarterback, too, when that guy is out there. And D-Hop just continues to make great plays, great catches. For the most part, I thought Tannehill looked really good. Malik had a couple of good throws as well. And, Colton Dowell was back, and we had talked about Colton Dowell the other day and how we didn't know his status. He came back yesterday. He had a really, really good catch, I thought that was important for him to this week really have to shine.
Yeah.
Because he was not available for that scrimmage on Saturday. So this is a big week for him as well.
Big week as well for Will Levis, who says he is aiming to be back for Friday's game against the Patriots. Mike Vrabel said at the podium yesterday that the hope is for him to play, but there's no firm expectation or news there yet. This was Will Levis on the practice field after the practice yesterday.
Yeah, Braves is going to definitely give the full extent of what we want to kind of discuss about the injury itself, but just had something happen to practice that just came up and went to the medical staff, and I'm just following their directions and the best way to attack it and get better. So, it's nothing too serious, but I'm just going to make sure I take the right steps to get back to the road recovery.
You're hopeful of maybe playing Friday night?
That's what I'm aiming for. So, I don't know any timeline, but I'm just going to take it one day at a time so far.
What's the frustration level?
Yeah, it is what it is. I think the first couple of days that I had it and where I found out I wasn't going to play in Minnesota, I was definitely down, and Coach Graves was quick to kind of know that I was upset and pick me up and be like, hey, keep your head up, you can't do anything about it. We got to be smart with it and just listen to the trainers and do whatever you can as a teammate when you're not able to play. So that's just the approach I'm taking.
What else can you do maybe while you're not able to be out there? It looked like you were charting plays today. What are you able to do while you can't practice?
Fully involved in the meetings and, being however helpful I can on the field. Today was just charting the plays, but involved with the installs and what we got going on in practice and still preparing for Friday against New England. So other than taking the reps on the field and doing everything else.
So there's Will Levis post-practice yesterday at St. Thomas Sports Park. When do you guys start getting worried about his time that he's missed?
Levis?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, when would you?
Oh, when would I? Week 2.
Okay.
Just looking in to see, is he back healthy? Because he said it wasn't a big item or a big issue as far as the injury goes. I saw him on the sideline. He was dressed out in, uniform. He was in full uniform the entire time, stood and walked out there, shoulder pads on. Mm-hmm. I don't recall seeing him throw a pass, anything like that, but he was in tune to everything that was going on. So if he wasn't ready by week 2, I'd start to question that one. But I think he's going to be fine, though. I'm hoping anyway.
And look, it's got to be frustrating for anybody, but especially a rookie who's battling in a backup quarterback battle like this, right? Yeah. As highly contested as it is, to miss a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. He's missed a preseason game and he missed a scrimmage yesterday. And while that's probably frustrating to him, I will say this about Will Levis. Probably one of the more well-prepared rookies I've seen. Yeah. This guy is definitely looking at watching film every single day. He's probably spending hours and hours at the facility, and especially now that he's not able to be out there physically, at least, he's able to mentally be there.
Yep.
And I think that is what I trust in Will Levis. At least he's still growing. You want to be out there, but he's still going to do what he can to mentally grow for that position and that backup spot. Now, I think he could potentially play Friday.
I think he will.
From what Vrabel kind of said and left it wide open to what Will just said in that interview, I think he could play.
Coming up next, what Harold Landry had to say about the possibility of also playing in the last preseason game, one important element of that, and a review on Swamp Kings, which is out now on Netflix. Coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
It's Ramon Foster for Two Rivers Ford. I'm here to tell you one of the best dealerships around. And right now, the Ford F-150 has been the best-selling truck for 46 years and counting, okay? And Two Rivers Ford has been the leading F-150 Ford dealer in our community for 40 years. Two Rivers Ford has a huge selection right now of F-150s on the lot, and they're all priced below MSRP. You see, Two Rivers Ford always sells for the best price. The trucks are clearly marked. There's no gimmicks, no shenanigans, just an honest deal and a speedy process. And did I mention Two Rivers Ford has non-commissioned salespeople, so they never pressure you into buying anything. You see something you like, guess what? They'll just follow you in and help you figure out the paperwork. You don't like something, you don't worry about it. It's that simple with them, okay? And there's a reason Two Rivers Ford has been the best in business since 1983. So if you're in the market for F-150, call, click, or go see my friends at Two Rivers Ford, located in Mount Juliet, just 7 miles east of the airport. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
What's going on? 8 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Some terrible news yesterday as father of Titans cornerback Caleb Farley died in an explosion that destroyed the NFL player's North Carolina home and left another player injured. When asked for comment, Mike Vrabel said this.
What's most important is that we do everything that we can to support him emotionally, teammates, coaches, organization. Just shocking, but also got to focus on Caleb and his family.
The Titans have agreed to terms with veteran kicker Michael Badgley, nicknamed the Money Badger. Badgley was Detroit's kicker last year and made 20 of his 24 field goal attempts with a long of 53. For his career, he's got 81% field goal percentage with a long of 59. He's only missed 5 PATs in his career. The Titans aren't the only team with injury woes at the wide receiver position, as Seahawks rookie wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba has not yet undergone a surgery for a minor wrist fracture and is seeing a hand specialist for a second opinion. They are maintaining an optimistic outlook, but Pete Carroll mentioned they are hoping that it is only a 3 to 4 week deal. And in Tampa, the Bucs are going with Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback week 1. Todd Bowles announced yesterday. The former number 1 overall pick Mayfield beat out Kyle Trask for the right to succeed Tom Brady and will face Minnesota in the opener. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
We welcome you to your Wednesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone on the final day of Titans training camp. We made it. Ladies and gentlemen, football is back.
Yay.
So is Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. My name is Will Bowling. We've got a review on Swamp Kings coming up for you imminently here to begin the second half of the show, plus what Harold Landry had to say about the possibility of playing in the last preseason game this upcoming weekend. PFF's Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo will stop by the station in person coming up in 20 minutes. They were at Titans practice yesterday. We'll be back there today and have takeaways for us on the blue versus white scrimmage.
Who is your favorite character? I like the guy that yells, "Shoot 'em," in the Swamp People show.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't know they added that back to Netflix. I'll definitely be tuning in to see that.
Elizabeth.
Well, there's
Troy
plenty of
Landry?
areas down there.
You mean tell me Troy Landry's on there? And Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah, they got Troy. I love how they talk, too. They all sound like they're just from a little, which is true. They are from a very small part of the country. Yeah. But everything they sounds so redneck and so intelligent at the same time. Yeah. But I'm gathering that that's not what you're talking about.
It is not.
No.
Wasn't that in Gainesville kind of close to it? I feel like it would be.
No, I think they were Louisiana.
Oh, they were the Bayou.
Go Tigers.
They were the Bayou.
Yeah, they were down there with that guy.
Go Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
Go Tigers.
That's right.
They like gators, but not those gators.
Not those gators.
Okay.
They actually went to Florida to hunt pythons.
What?
It's a big deal down there.
It is a big deal. They've like they're taking over the native animals.
You can actually make a lot of money
gross.
there. So people buy them as an exotic pet, and then they can't take care of them. They either get out or they release them, and then it's the perfect environment for them. So in the Everglades or wherever, they have plenty of prey and local fauna that they can feed on.
Mm-hmm.
So they just get massive. And the government pays people like almost like a rebate. Like if you can bring in some of these exotic snakes, we will pay you a fee. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking to quit your job and move to Florida, you can be a python hunter.
Literally
Yes,
the
you
mighty python?
Literally the mighty python.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
And for that reason, I'm out.
I know I was going to say, Will checked out of this conversation.
Well,
for
they're
sure.
100%.
They are absolutely taking out a lot of
I
alligators
didn't know
down
that.
there. Yeah, no, it's serious.
Alligators are taking out? Now
No,
that's-
no. They are taking out alligators.
That's
the
wild.
pythons are.
Heck yeah.
Dude, look at Will's like,
that is
yeah, screw that.
wild.
No,
You
I
are
would-
not a snake fan at all.
I
ain't either. I don't want to make it seem like I'm
Hate.
okay with them. I'm
Hate.
not okay. But yeah, don't buy pet reptiles like that if you can't take care of them. Ron Slay, there's probably one dwelling right now in Knoxville.
It's my irrational fear of snakes.
Is there not a college mascot that is a snake? Is there not a snake?
The serpents?
Yeah. Who is that? Who is the serpent?
Somebody is.
Slytherin.
Somebody is.
It's not a rattler anywhere?
Not Alabama A&M.
In South Carolina, there is.
Alabama A&M. What's Alabama A&M?
Oh, the viper. Or I know who you're talking about. Yes. So there is a snake.
This is the trivia I'm best
Vipers.
at. Or nicknames. Are they really?
I'm not sure. I was just vipers do sound real. Like that could be a mascot.
No, they're the
for sure.
Bulldogs. Who am I thinking of? Oh my gosh. Arkansas Pine Bluff is something weird.
Really?
But they're not anything snake related.
Huh.
They're the Golden Lions.
Okay.
Florida A&M.
Florida A&M. Thank you.
They are
Thank
the
you.
Rattlers.
Thank you.
They
Thank you.
are?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
FNM Bank Chat had it first. That's
yep.
right.
Yep. My frat brothers. FAMU Rattlers.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
technically, the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I should know that.
Diamondbacks, yes, is another one.
Because they have the
Essentially.
City Connect jerseys now that say Serpientes.
Serpientes. Yes, that's right.
They're actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I like those ones.
Shout out one of my old high school classmates. Just debuted for the Diamondbacks the other day.
Oh, straight up.
Bryce Jarvis.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, good
We
guy.
got 2 first names.
Crushing it.
So Florida A&M was the.
Florida A&M.
Yeah.
Yep. For FAMU.
The FNM Bank Chat is not happy that we did not immediately get that. I'm also not happy with myself for immediately not getting
totally
that. I should know
missed that
better.
one.
They're orange and green.
Yeah, they are.
I love the. For some reason, I like those colors. They're kind of bright.
Orange and green?
I don't know. It's kind of a fun color scheme.
It is a very fun. It's
You
so
know?
Florida. That is such
Just
a Florida
different.
color.
It is different.
Not
Yeah.
the same thing as everybody else.
Right.
Well, speaking of Florida and football teams, Swamp Kings is out on Netflix. Kayla's watched more of this than I have. You're on the last episode. I've only watched the first one. And my overall takeaway is don't expect anything different than Urban Meyer praise and whatever he wanted out there, because it makes Urban Meyer look like a sympathetic person, which he is not. And the only reason to tell the story of those Florida teams is to tell the whole story of what was happening off the field and on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so far from what I've seen, it basically just kind of goes game by game and gives you what's happened on the field.
Right. I will say this because I'm going to get back to your point, Will, because that was a very good point. As for the watching those games or just reliving kind of the SEC specifically, they're talking about Florida, but there's also the teams they played against. So it's kind of fun to see some of those teams, and you forget who the quarterback was, who some of their star players were. And then for that Florida team specifically, like, I'm not joking, I forgot about Chris Leak. I completely forgot about Chris Leak before Tebow. Right. And then how Tebow kind of got worked in those situations, like, and then became the starter, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But the recruiting of Tebow, because I wasn't like necessarily, that was my first year in the South when 2005, 2006. So I didn't know the history behind it. So anybody who doesn't know the history of some of that Florida team, I think it gives some interesting perspective on that. Just because it was fun to watch some of those games and see how Tebow became Tebow.
Yeah.
And really to see Tebow in a little bit different light of how he became who he is and why he was who he was, right?
Right.
Because I kind of got annoyed with Tebow. I'll be the
You
first to
did?
say. Yeah, I was always annoyed with Tebow. So that kind of made me look at him in a little different light. And just the talent on some of those teams, the Pouncey brothers, who, again, they didn't get in, though, to all the things that happened off the field, which is part of what made that so crazy down there, right?
Yes.
So that's the part that I don't like either. And unless it all comes out in the last episode, which I don't think it does because we've moved past some of that at this point, I think that was a little bit interesting that you don't want to highlight any of that stuff because supposedly these are crews out of London, filmmakers. So I mean, it's like, what ties did they have to Urban Meyer? You know, why don't you just tell the whole story?
Control,
just to have him on it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's called Untold because most of the story of what actually happened goes untold.
Oh my gosh.
You idiot. What's wrong?
That's why it's called Untold, Florida
What's
Gators.
wrong with you, huh?
I mean, it doesn't tell the part of it that actually interests me. Like, yes, they were really good, but a puff piece on Florida football, you could do a lot of puff pieces on a lot of good teams through the years. What makes them interesting and unique is the era they were playing in and what was happening off the field within that locker room, where you had like one of the best humans in terms of nobility and just, I mean, Tim Tebow, by all accounts, is a good guy. I mean, his background speaks for itself, in the same locker room as dudes who are some of the worst humans.
Right.
Respectfully. Or I shouldn't say worst humans. That's a little much.
Well, he had
guys making really bad decisions. At the same time.
Well, and look, I want to say this because everybody comes from different backgrounds. Not everybody comes from Tim Tebow's background. People grow up in rough households. People grow up with no parents. And it did go into some of those players' backgrounds and what they've gone through as kids, and then they're boosted onto the Florida, limelight of everything. And I thought it was interesting, some of those stories that were told, and you can watch it. I'm not going to spoil it all for you, but it did tell the stories of some of those players who didn't have parents or who had parents that were in jail. And the one thing I will say about that is, they were kind of embraced as family in Florida. Now, as crazy as it got, there were certain situations where they told those stories, and I was like, okay, I can understand that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they left out a lot of the stuff that I think everybody wanted to see.
I got a hit list somebody put out there on social media of stuff that was missing from it.
I saw that.
I hadn't seen it, but I'm watching it this evening for sure. Cam Newton, they didn't discuss him apparently. Carlos Dunlap, DUI before the 09 SEC Championship. Hernandez, the Pouncey twins. Hey, Marquise, why weren't you in there? Urban's heart attack. 2009 Sugar Bowl week. Zach Smith, Riley Cooper, Urban wife and kids in Gainesville, and life after Tebow. Like, did they miss the mark like that on certain stuff, Kayla?
Yeah, so the end episode I've not seen, so it looks like some of that stuff they addressed at the end was not addressed.
Okay.
But yes, leading up to that, all the stuff you just named, they went over the Hernandez bar fight briefly.
Oh,
Tebow talked about that, how he thought he could have done more.
Yeah.
But that was about the extent of it. Was that little blurb on that.
I want to hear Percy Harvin's story. I just saw that come across when he choked out the coach, allegedly.
All right.
And that's not on there.
Oh, my gosh. That's the story you got to sell right there. Can you imagine a player choking out a coach?
It is true, though. And Brent Doherty was talking about this yesterday on 3HL about the Tim Tebow recruitment part of it. Ooh. And Josh Pate, 247 Sports Late Kick with Josh Pate, which is an outstanding must listen if you're a college football fan, made the point that Tim Tebow's recruitment is among the most important for a single player in the history of college football. Mm-hmm. Because if he goes to Alabama, I don't think Florida builds the dynasty that they built under Urban Meyer.
Yep.
And who knows what Alabama becomes at that point and what Florida then turns into and how much easier a path Philip Fulmer and Tennessee have in the SEC East. Like, that 2006 Florida game is front and center between Tennessee and Florida in that one. Still wasn't roughing the passer against Tennessee and should have been a touchdown. I'm not mad. Yes, I am. But that's one of the first games I vividly remember is that was Tebow's coming out party. They put that dude in on like every 4th and 1.
Yeah.
The amount of times I watched Tim Tebow just fall forward on a 4th and 1. Like, stop him. Just stop him. Figure it out. And like the GIF, that was me at 9 watching that game.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's good. I mean, it's college football. Look, if you're a college football fan, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if you're a Florida fan, you're the only one that's really going to totally get the most out of it because it's reliving your glory days.
And
I
they
think for
might
everyone
even
else,
be mad.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Florida fans don't want to hear about the bad stuff. They just want to remember the glory days of all the games they won.
Right.
Like if So
watch it if you like college football. That's what I'll say.
It's interesting. Coming up, PFF Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo are here in studio. Going to join us. They were at Titans practice yesterday. What did they see? And one ranking where the Titans are listed lowly on their website. What is the ceiling of the Titans offensive line, in their opinion? We'll tell you where they have them ranked and where their ceiling is. Coming up next, right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
It's Ramon Foster for Genesis Diamonds, and people here know Genesis Diamonds as the value leader. They've proven it. You know why? Genesis is a true direct importer with connections that go back for 50 plus years. There's no middleman markups, no consignment fees, no third party people to pay. But one thing people here really love about Genesis is this is where you can get her a better ring, a designer ring, a handcrafted ring that reflects how you see her. While other stores sell knockoff rings or crappy overseas rings, at Genesis, you can get her a stunning designer ring made here in America by top designers. These are rings that are made to last. Names like Sakori and Viraggio and dozens more. Bottom line, she would proudly show off a Genesis ring because it won't be a mass-produced ring. It will be something unique, something amazing. And don't worry about the price either. Genesis will make sure you can get a designer ring that fits your budget with the diamond that she will love. That's what Genesis specializes in, combining the best diamond value with the best quality ring to give you the total package with a free lifetime warranty as well. Genesis Diamonds, where luxury and value come together every single day. Check them out. Also, they're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs. And don't forget about the all-new collection of amazing luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, too. They are incredible.
Wednesday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone. And we have got a full studio this morning as we are joined in person by two of our favorites, PFF's Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo, kind enough to give us a couple of minutes here watching Titans training camp yesterday. What's up, guys? Welcome.
Thank you. Good
Yeah,
to
thanks
see
for
you
having
here.
us.
Absolutely.
Trying to get my headphones set up here. You
oh,
got
perfect.
this.
Come on.
Very professional.
This is your first date.
Oh, it twists and I hate that. when that
What's going
happens.
on here?
Yeah,
I
let's
don't wanna-
help a brother
Little
out
help.
here.
Twist it.
Oh, okay.
Our esteemed producer,
maybe-
Robert.
There it
Wells,
is.
We don't
bringing
have
his
the cool
in here.
headphones.
Baseball player,
We don't
man.
have the cool
Gosh,
headphones in
they're
Cincinnati.
not
Just
really
hope that headphone
hands-on
jack
like
works.
that.
See, when you're at home and on the phone, you don't have to deal with the headphone situation.
I don't.
Right? Sam just looks like a gamer over there.
You do.
Not my
With the
first
little
rodeo.
mic phone. Yeah.
Been here before.
I love it.
doubt.
How was practice yesterday?
It
was good.
Yeah, we were hoping to see Patriots Titans. Obviously,
Right.
that got canceled, but it was a nice little scrimmage that we got to see yesterday. Tannehill versus Malik Willis, head to head.
So we were told that they literally drafted like all the way down to the trainers. And Terrell Williams against Stretch, as he's affectionately known around here, John Stryker, who literally were like drafting support staff and managers and like trainers. This, Mike Vrabel is all about building these just like intensely competitive environments, literally at a moment's notice. But sounded like it was a pretty spirited practice yesterday.
It was good fun. I will say, so, you go through these training camps. It's fascinating to see the various different support staff and trainers and, people that work in the front office are out here like
Right.
snapping the ball to quarterbacks and stuff. At every, destination you go to, the Titans have by far and away the least accurate training staff when it comes to just pitching footballs to people. They had guys set up, just walking down a line, trying to work on just drop a ball over my shoulder so I can work on catching it. And not one of them was even workable. Like, come on. The man's trying to hone a skill here.
Some extra reps
Sam's
here.
like, I'm getting out here.
So it sounds like next we're going to see PFF's grades of all
Yeah.
accuracy of training staffs
Right.
around the league next.
Y'all
There we
should.
go.
I think you should, man. We were Minnesota this weekend, and I'm watching. Had to have been training staff or weight room staff throwing over the shoulders to Justin
Right.
Jefferson this weekend. I won't lie, dude was dropping some dimes in there, man. I was like, dude got a talent. And then the other side of that is too. Most elite athletes, like a Justin Jefferson or elite quarterback, has a quirkiness to him. It's just like, why are you good at everything?
Yeah.
The dude sprints off to the corner. Justin Jefferson grabs the ball and drops a dime in the back of the corner end zone. Just thinking to myself, why do you have to be this good at everything? You know what I'm saying? Like Ben was that type of guy who's like shooting basketballs into the garbage can.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
And you were an NFL athlete.
That's
Think about
what I'm
how the
saying.
rest of us feel.
I just flawlessly come to you like it's nothing. Like, oh, you bowl too? Oh, and you hoop? Oh, and you play lacrosse? Like, no, you can't be elite at everything and he played baseball. Like, what the heck are we talking about here? I hate those type of dudes.
We clown Ramon for his 40 time being 5'2" slow, while recognizing that 5'2" is still faster than like anyone else in this building could run.
Exactly.
So,
We actually ran a 40 at the combine this year.
did you?
Yeah,
What?
they had the fan thing set up. So I was reasonably encouraged that
Go ahead.
in cleats and no, without cleats in athletic trainers and jeans, I ran a 5.33.
Okay.
I think that was okay.
Pretty good for a 40-year-old right there. So that's good.
And did not rip a hamstring off the bone doing it. That was
That's
most
the
important.
biggest
Big
thing.
win.
Did you
That's what
run it?
matters.
I did not, no.
Okay.
I don't blame
I was I had other work to do that week at the combine, so I did not get to do that.
You see, Pac-Man ran a 4.5 still?
Crazy.
Steve was waiting for his pro day to run his,
Yeah.
his 40.
Wait for still training for the pro day, the 38-yard dash at the pro day.
Right.
You
Very
do it on
important.
campus, on your own campus.
That's right, downhill.
Yeah.
Well, watching this team right now, guys, we're so interested by the different conversations about this Titans team because here day to day, I think the conversation locally has been this defense could surprise some people if they can stay healthy, right? And the depth in the secondary, a little bit of a concern, but we feel like, up front on the defensive line, Arden Key's a guy that's been impressive. Jeffrey Simmons obviously needs no introduction, and guys like Tier Tart and Jaden Peavy, these undrafted guys, have been solid. From y'all's perspective, getting to watch the scrimmage yesterday, just when you look at this team from the broad view, what impresses you the most and what maybe surprises you the most just seeing them in person about this Titans team?
I mean, I think defense is definitely the stronger unit at the moment, but the addition of DeAndre Hopkins is huge for that offense. Like, you can already see it in practice that he makes an absolute difference to everything they're doing. They're looking at him, first and foremost most of the time, and that bails them out of a lot of situations, where the defense does have the advantage and it's going to get pressure and it's going to shut the play down, and they just go, you know what, let's take a shot to nuke. And most of the time, he's going to make it right, whether or not it was the correct decision. So the interesting thing, I think, is going to be when their defense comes up against a different offensive line, because that's the one area where you look and you say, that looks a little bit concerning right now. And it's difficult then to get a real gauge on what the defense is doing versus how much is just the offensive line being a problem.
What specifically was concerning to you that you guys have seen on that front for Tennessee, for the offense?
I mean, it's really just how frequently they're getting beat, right? It's almost every single play. Yesterday, there was some kind of pressure. Now, Malik Willis wasn't helping that with his group, but I think generally on either side, the offensive line looked concerning.
Yeah, I think just on paper, the offensive line, they paid a lot of money to Andre Dillard to come in and play left tackle. He's unproven. We really liked Peter Skoronski coming out. But again, he's a rookie. The expectations for a rookie offensive lineman, the differences between year 1 and year 3. I think Skoronski's going to be good, but he has to be good right away. And Aaron Brewer, maybe at center. So I just think the line has question marks. Petit Friere at right tackle, I thought he was okay last year. He's got to take a step forward. So that's the type of thing where I believe DeAndre Hopkins makes a huge impact on an offense. He did that in Arizona right when he got there. But you have to have the time to get the ball to him, so that's where it's got to all work together.
Did you like what you saw out of Ryan Tannehill? Because here it's always, there's a lot of Titans fans who I feel like don't appreciate what he brings to the table, but at the same time, I think a lot of people nationally would agree, like, he's really not like the top of the cream of the top, right?
We were told not to talk too much about yesterday's practice, so I mean, we just want to follow the rules here. But look, I made a statement the other day about the Atlanta Falcons. They have a really fun group of playmakers, and I said, I don't know what you're getting from their quarterback, Desmond Ridder, but I said, if you dropped Ryan Tannehill on the Falcons, I'm really intrigued.
That's interesting.
So that's the story of the mid-tier quarterback. That's what Ryan Tannehill is. The people in town are like, looking elsewhere. There's other better quarterbacks somewhere, but you're also like, I don't want to be as bad as these other teams. I mean, that's Tannehill. You can win with him, but it's got to be what we saw a few years ago, controlled, play action heavy, have that, alpha playmaker on the outside. If you have that, Tannehill can be really productive.
Yeah, once he got going yesterday, he looked pretty good. I mean, he had a fairly rough start, I think, to the scrimmage, but then as the thing went on, he was the one that was negotiating the pressure. He was the one that was moving the ball in the 2-minute drill, that kind of stuff. So Tannehill is who he's always been, which is a good quarterback if the situation around him is good.
The question I have for you guys is, right now, everybody in America has a team in their city think they can win the Super Bowl. Like, that's legitimately where everybody is. And the way you guys have broken down positions, teams, aside from the quarterback, because not everybody has a Patrick Mahomes, right? What is a Super Bowl team? How does it look?
I mean, I think the Eagles last year were a really good example because we didn't know what Jalen Hurts was last year at this time, but we had a feeling that the Eagles had made a lot of good moves. Their secondary is really good. They had few weaknesses across their roster. I view a Super Bowl team as a team that can win differently every single week.
Okay.
And that's what the Eagles did last year. So they would win with 200 yards on the ground one week. They'd win with A.J. Brown with 2 catches or A.J. Brown with 12 catches. They'd win with defense and pass rush, or they'd win with Jalen Hurts, tearing it up. So that's what I look for, the versatility and the ability to win multiple ways.
I think the thing is the line is moving now, right? Because there's so many of these good teams. The AFC in particular is just loaded. So you need a couple of things. You need to have a team across the board that's good enough to be playing in January, right? Like, that's step one. Let's make the playoffs because that's not a given anymore. And then number 2, you've got to have a quarterback that's good enough that not to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and all those kinds of things, but to be able to have a streak where he can play 3 games, at the top of his ability and look like one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, even if over 17, he's not that guy. So I think those are the 2 components you need for a Super Bowl run right now. It's a good enough roster and then the capacity to catch fire for a few games.
Have you also seen the emphasis as of late of going back to running the ball? Like, I know here's always been the thing, but I think if you look across the league right now, even though the running back position is super devalued, the attention to your offensive lineman and running the ball, I feel like is taking a step up. How do you look at this duo of what Derrick Henry has been and what you've seen from Tyjae Spears so far in preseason?
They look fantastic as a duo. I mean, I think Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry, right? Nothing changed other than the fact that the situation around Derrick Henry fell apart, which is, one of the things that we've always been talking about, like why the position is not as valuable as a quarterback. Because if the offensive line falls apart, last year the Titans had the 32nd ranked offensive line in PFS rankings. If that happens, doesn't matter if it's Derrick Henry. He's not going to be able to carry the team the way a quarterback potentially can. But if you piece that back together in front of him, he's still going to look like Derrick Henry. And then Tyjae Spears is a guy that, we loved in the pre-draft process, looked fantastic in everything up until draft time, and he looks like the same guy. I mean, some of the moves he's been pulling in preseason, incredible.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Spears. I mean, like the run game that you're asking about around the league, I think it depends on the team because, again, when you have a Ryan Tannehill's never been the guy that you say, hey, go throw the ball 40, 50 times a week. You never want that from Tannehill. But if you say, look, you have to have 30 good plays this week and, 15 of them are going to be coming off of play action, like you're tightening up the pressure. You're tightening up the third and longs that you need from your quarterback. So that's where you might want to rely on the run game a little bit more. And it makes sense with a Tannehill or with, the way the Titans are built.
PFF Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo, our guests. For this offensive line, then, what is their ceiling this season? Like for Peter Skoronski specifically, it almost feels like this offense could be at its best as an offensive line unit if they just moved him to left tackle. But is that best for him and his long-term future? Where do you guys kind of fall on that from their perspective? Like, how good does this offensive line need to be in order for the Titans to contend in the AFC South?
We always use the phrase on the PFF NFL podcast, creep back toward average.
Perfect.
Right? You just need, no offense, Ramon, but you guys aren't going to carry the team, right? Like if you have the best offensive line in the league, but you don't have a good enough quarterback, it doesn't matter. But you can't have an offensive line where every time it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, you're giving up pressure. You have to at least be in the middle of the pack. Skoronski specifically, I'm of the mind that stop measuring arm length and saying this guy has to be a guard. Just end it.
Yeah.
If he can play left tackle, he can play left tackle. And I think there's a chance that Peter Skoronski can play left tackle in the NFL. And I'm of the mind, I know you've only got so many reps and all that, I would give him a chance. Like, I'll give you a chance to fail at tackle first, and then I feel pretty good about you moving to guard. So I would always try a Peter Skoronski type who's really talented, technically sound, held his own as a left tackle in the Big Ten against good rushers. Like, give him a chance to play left tackle rather than just measuring his arms and say he can't do it.
On the opposite side, the defensive line and what they bring to the table, I think a lot of people saying this could be special because you've got Jeffrey Simmons, who is the dog, but Harold Landry's back. He's a year removed from that ACL. And you've got the addition of a guy like Arden Key, who I'm sure you guys have heard has brought a whole different type of energy and skill here to this team.
We've got homework for you, actually.
Ooh.
We need one of you guys to find out what Arden Key currently weighs.
Okay.
Because he was a guy who he's like the poster child for that long, undersized, thin edge rusher in college. And there's tons of those guys in college. And then they get to the NFL and really struggle because if you're long and don't weigh a lot, you just get destroyed by offensive tackles.
You know who was that body type but put on weight, though? Chandler Jones.
Yeah. So you can do it if you bulk up, but there's a ton of those guys. Like Shalik Calhoun was another one who had, the skills and just never had the bulk to be able to survive. And Arden Key kind of washed out initially and then looked like he added weight and size and has become a really consistent, situational pass rusher over the last few years. And now it's like, well, let's see if he can do it full time again. Like he's a different player now than he was when he couldn't get it done earlier in his career. Let's see if he can become the player that we thought he was going to be or that somebody thought he was going to be when he was drafted.
There's always a conversation of Big Jeff. How much of a game wrecker has he been as far as you guys' grading scale, man? Like when he's out on the field, what's the differences in his play versus not being on the field?
I was just running some numbers on some of this the other day, actually. When he gets double teamed, he's one of the best in the league, handling double teams in the run game and everything. So those are the things that kind of go unnoticed from a guy that's, especially when he's lined up as nose tackle. I didn't think that was going to be him coming out. I thought he was going to be disruptive pass rusher, get up the field type of guy, but he holds the point and he's disruptive. And I think when I look at those defensive linemen, there's those single games sometimes where they just take over. That was Simmons against the Rams a couple years ago during the Rams Super Bowl year, where he's unblockable, has 10 pressures. You don't necessarily get that every week, but some guys are able to do that. So he has the ability to take up multiple blockers, which is, cliche, but legit for Jeffrey Simmons. He has the ability to take over games, and then it opens up everything else for the deep defensive line that you're mentioning, Kayla. I love the depth there, and I think that is going to be the key to the Titans. When they were playing well 2 years ago, had the number 1 seed, it was those games where the D-line was setting the tone.
Sure.
So in that same conversation then, if Big Jeff is holding 2, that's what a defensive lineman's job. If they're not seen, they're probably occupied by 2. That's a great place to be at. Where do you find this linebacker core behind him there? Because we hadn't talked a lot about him, but I see the smirk on your face.
I don't know. It's an unknown. Don't ask me questions I don't know. Yeah. We just haven't seen much from most of them.
Azeez Al-Shire is a guy from the 49ers.
He's been good.
He's been good. Okay.
He's the one guy, like he was underrated in that 49ers linebacking group because you have Fred Warner, you have Dre Greenlaw, but he was very good in San Francisco. Familiar face with the front office and everything. Everything else beyond that is an unknown.
Does he need a really good co-star is what I'm asking him, because I know what we're getting out of Azeez.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need a good co-star to ride with him? To be a good defense?
I think linebacker is almost similar to offensive line, where it doesn't have to be star-driven. If you're going to choose where your stars are in the defense, it's the D-line.
Sure.
You want to have a star corner. You want to have a playmaker in the back end. So linebackers have to be just good enough, so we'll see.
Yeah, and it's in this weird place right now in the NFL where you either have a star, you've either got a guy like Fred Warner, and there's only a couple of those guys in the NFL now, or it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like the big jump is if you can find a superstar, that changes everything. Like the things you can do with Fred Warner in your defense changes how your defense can operate. But if you don't have that guy, the difference between a good linebacker, an average linebacker, a below average linebacker, it's not really changing that much to your defense because they're all getting wrecked. Like when you look at everything that's happening in today's NFL, it's all designed to stress linebackers and make them wrong. So it only changes when you find a guy that completely changes that dynamic.
Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo, our guests this morning here, courtesy of Pro Football Focus. Thanks for coming out, guys. Great to meet you guys in person.
That
was way too quick.
I know.
I will stay for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Y'all gotta go. I want to ask about the kickers and everything, man.
Oh no, we gotta go. Cut the break.
Guys, thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, fellas.
All right, coming up, hear from Harold Landry, what he has to say about maybe playing on Friday. Coming up on RKW.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. And, we always talk to Dean Glasscock, the certified arborist here in town, and his professional crew. They always get it done the right way, including providing a top-notch 7-step application spray program. They come by every 6 to, 12 weeks, and they monitor your situation that's going on with your trees and shrubs so that they stay protected from the influx of insects that are right here in Middle Tennessee. And we have seen plenty of those. So if you want to keep your trees and shrubs in tip-top shape, make sure to get a hold of Dean and his crew at Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. Right now, they're also hiring. So if you want to join a company that has great benefits, lots of positions open right now in terms of something to pick from, this is the place to go. It's Arbor Art Tree and Shrub for exceptional service every single time. Call 299-9999 or simply log on to arborart.net.
Wrapping up the third hour of the show here on RKW, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Great to have Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo in studio. If you missed any of that conversation, you can check it out wherever you download podcasts. Right at the end of the show, 10 o'clock, those will be up for the people with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. Robert Walsh, I'm Will Bowling. Great stuff with them.
That was fun.
Good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Man. I've come a long way in my appreciation of what they do.
Absolutely.
Because I was a hater of them and still have the question on offensive line grades, but it's become more acceptable now. And I know they have guys in-house that actually do more O-line stuff. So, I'm always trying to protect that group.
I appreciate both sides of things, right? Like you appreciate the number factor of things and you appreciate the analysis factor of things.
Yeah.
But, they've been to certain training camps this summer. They try to always get out and do different ones. And I appreciate that perspective, too, of actually getting boots on the ground at some point. When you're national, it's hard to do that.
They add a different layer to the game.
Yeah.
Is essentially what it is. And I didn't realize how big it was consumed.
Mm-hmm. And it's a conversation starter.
No idea how big it was consumed.
Yep.
Harold Landry talked yesterday about potentially playing on Friday. I thought this was interesting about needing to tackle somebody again, which is something that he will have not done in over a year. Harold Landry yesterday here at the podium talking about maybe playing Friday.
Probably just like the chance to tackle, I guess, live. It's been a while since I've done that. I'm kind of indifferent when it comes to the preseason games, but obviously, like, I trust, Brady's judgment and, what he sees in me as a player right now. And so if he thinks it would benefit me to go out there, then obviously I'll be out there. But yeah, just the tackling aspect of it. The tackling aspect.
The tackling aspect, he said a few times.
Mm-hmm. How legit is that, Ramon, from your perspective of needing full contact once?
Very. I ain't mean to cut you off, but I just had to say it. Very legit because it's just like that first pop of the pads. Like he hadn't had that in an uncontrolled environment. And you see him on the sideline too, a little bit just pacing and walking back and forth. And there's only so much you can do in practice because each person going against Harold is probably thinking, I don't want to be the one that goes too hard and, set him back. And it's just one of them things where I know I've heard Ron say this time and time again, when you have those type of injuries and you get back out there, there's always that pop that you have to have, meaning from the joint that you had something happen. Whenever that pop happens and you get past it, guess what? You're fine. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't had that, I'm fine moment in a live sense. Like,
right.
If he go to tackle somebody in practice right now, they're going to pull up, and he going to pull up. There's going to be offensive linemen still trying to finish him to the ground or running back trying to run through a tackle of his. There's nothing like the simulation of the actual thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or living the real thing when it comes down to football.
Right. He said, I'm indifferent about this situation particularly. It doesn't sound like he necessarily wants to play, but he's going to play if Vrabel feels like it would be the right thing. And one thing he did say yesterday, guys, was I have no mental issues with anything with my ACL. Like, that's one thing that's really interesting because you talk to Taylor Lewan, you talk to Bud Dupree, that when they were removed from the situation a year after even, and it was still a mental thing for them, right?
It is.
Harold has made it clear this is no longer even something I think about. He's been saying time and time again, my ACL is 120%, right? It's as good as it gets. So, but the true mental test, Ramon, to me, is once you get in the game.
Yeah.
That's when the true mental test comes. So I'd like to see for that factor alone a little preseason.
No doubt about it. It should be fun. I hope he does. What does he need? 5 reps?
Yeah. A series?
Yeah, I would say one series, maybe 2 if it's a 3 and out.
Mm-hmm.
I think would be reasonable. And the mental side of it, too, I would imagine there's a different level of trust you have to have in a game setting than in a practice setting to trust a surgically repaired knee.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I say, like, it may not be a thing mentally for him. Right. It's not. But he's got to get up there and sprint, drag down a tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like, really get it to where the Patriots don't care about Harold Landry.
Yep.
He need to see what that feels like again. Like, I was always nervous first day of pads, y'all. Always.
I bet.
always, the first 101, the anxiety of play. That's all he's expressing right now, the anxiety of getting through that first tackle.
There's a different level of soreness, I would imagine, too, the first time.
Oh, my gosh.
Going full contact. That's the thing that the normal person might not understand who hasn't played football, including myself in that there's got to be things that hurt differently when you practice for the first time, and then things that don't hurt when you only practice and don't play. Mm-hmm. And it's better to go through that process when you have basically a bye week going into the season, when you have Labor Day weekend where there is no preseason.
I used to look at my arms and legs and shoulders and be like, my body's getting hardened.
Yeah.
Like legitimately,
Right.
like your forearms get hardened, like your shoulders get hardened. My youngest came in from practice, like after the first day in pads, he's like, look at my arms. It's like, good. You're getting hardened right
Sure.
now. Like, it's such a fascinating ordeal. I know, I'm sure running was the same way the first day of running 5, and then your feet are a little bit different,
Where it's the same for us is the first time we would have like a full workout in season, you're never totally healthy again for the rest of the season. You're always sore legitimately every single day at any level of competitive athletics at that high, where you're just maintaining your bumps and bruises, even in non-contact sports.
You're just maintaining them.
Like we would do like our first high knees or like skips to like start warming up for practice. You're like, how am I going to run 9 miles today? How in the world am I going to do this today? And then 10 minutes later, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm fine.
Every day.
But the first mile, you're like, like pops just everywhere. Terrible.
You should hear some of the pre-practice conversations.
Oh,
like, man, I don't know how we going to do it today.
It's kind of
You're
like
gonna
when
do
you
it.
wake up at 5 a.m. and the first thing you think is, whoo, I'm going to need a nap today.
Yeah.
It's like the physical version of that.
You know,
I
the
also had that thought when I
catchphrase?
woke up.
We used to be like, well, I'm iffy Jack.
Yeah.
That's all it took, man.
That's right.
Oh.
Coming up, more reports from the practice field yesterday, specifics on how the offense looked, how Malik Willis looked as we begin hour number 4 on 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Zen Sports, here to tell you about Zen Sports, the new sports betting app in Tennessee, revolutionizing sports betting rewards. Yes, the rewards. Because what if I told you that you're wasting your time and money betting on any sports book that's not Zen Sports? Zen Sports offer real cash rewards for those lucky enough to be in Tennessee. And that means no funny money, no funny points or credits. For instance, a welcome bonus. You can earn 5% cash back on every bet you place for the first 15 days with no limit on your bonus when you use the referral bonus code, and earn up to 3% cash back on your bets after that with the Zen Sports Loyalty Program. Make the switch today and start betting on Zen Sports. Your wallet will thank you later. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 years and older and present in Tennessee to bet.
9 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Terrible news yesterday as the father of Titans cornerback Caleb Farley died in an explosion that destroyed the NFL player's North Carolina home and left another player injured. When asked for comment, Mike Vrabel said this.
What's most important is that we do everything that we can to support him emotionally, teammates, coaches, organization. Just shocking, but also got to focus on Caleb and his family.
The Titans have agreed to terms with veteran kicker Michael Badgley, nicknamed the Money Badger. Badgley was Detroit's kicker last year, making 20 of 24 field goal attempts with a long of 53. He's got a long of 59 for his career with an 81.7 field goal percentage. The Titans aren't the only team with wide receiver injury woes, as Seahawks rookie wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba has yet to undergo a surgery for a minor wrist fracture and is seeing a hand specialist. They are maintaining an optimistic outlook, but Pete Carroll said that they are hoping that it is only a 3 to 4 week deal. And the Bucs down to Tampa, where Baker Mayfield was named the starting quarterback by Todd Bowles yesterday. The former number 1 overall pick, Mayfield, beat out Kyle Trask for the right to succeed Tom Brady and will start the season September 10th against Minnesota. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to your Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock hour, off and running on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. With our NFL veteran, Ramon Foster, our broadcast veteran, whose J is always capitalized in journalist. That's Kayla Anderson. Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. Titans taking the practice field coming up in this hour for the final time in training camp 2023.
That's nuts how quick it went by.
All of your camp crushes taking the field for one more time.
I know, man. Who's going to find themselves on this 53-man roster, or at least a second opportunity on the practice squad? I love this week. I do, because it really puts guys' professionalism to a test. It puts their mental toughness to a test. It really does put the team in a stressful point too, because Rhett said earlier, like, Jeff's gonna make this team, okay? Tannehill's solid. You know,
that's just in. Jeffrey Simmons will make the Titans roster.
Will make the 53-man roster.
You can keep your jerseys. You don't have to sell them.
You feel me? Yeah, that was a thing for real. But like, as a teammate, knowing guys like Akira Jackson needs this opportunity. You know, knowing guys, you know, like Jalen Duncan needs one more week. Like, it's fascinating to watch how veterans try to support guys during this weekend. I never forget watching dudes I knew probably wasn't going to make it and had a shot to make practice squad, the look on their faces. Like, yeah, bro, it's getting real serious now. And I never made fun of that. I always try to encourage those dudes, but it really does kind of bring you together. And for the ones that know they're safe, man, staying out of the way and really just trying to focus in on week one is such a unique process, man. And this last week of, like you said, those camp darlings that we've been speaking about, Reggie Roberson. You know what I'm saying? How is this going to shake out for these dudes? Or will they fall into those hundreds of guys that get cut and you hope that you're able to save them going into the season?
Yeah, because Rhett said it earlier in his segment, Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio. He said, look, there's really realistically 5 or 6 spots that are really open on this team. And you think of the talent we've spoke about this training season and just some of the names that have been, like Will says, some camp sweethearts, some that legitimately could probably be a starter at some point on this team, that are young and still have room to grow, but are really wanting a spot. Like, who makes it? And what I do like, guys, is just the practice team in general, at least for the Titans, what we've seen in the past is there's been plenty of opportunities for those guys at points to get called up and to have to play in critical games, right? And you want to be a starter no matter what. That's what your goal is in the league.
Absolutely.
But just to at least make the practice squad with some of these guys and know that you could have opportunity and you have now a chance to continue to grow throughout the season, I think don't overlook that either, right? Some of these guys that will make that. I don't think we should poo-poo that at all.
Right. Right.
Yesterday, Ryan Tannehill was 13 of 18. Malik Willis finished 12 of 18 in 7-on-7 and team periods combined. Did have an interception. Will Levis was at practice. He was not in uniform and did not participate. Was out there around the team during the stretch period at the beginning of practice and did not take place in practice. You heard from him earlier in the show talking about how the hope is that he will be ready for Friday. That is his aim. You guys both think he's going to play.
I would hope so. Yeah, I lean 80% saying he's going to play.
Yeah.
I just expect him to. The fact that he's antsy, unless he's got a lesson to learn of patience. You know, like he is Will Levis LLC now. He is a business.
True.
You can't put yourself out there if you're injured and you can't really perform and protect yourself too.
And look, when he was made available yesterday, because Robbie Boren, a great job with PR for the Titans, he specifically said, hey, we've got Will for you for a few questions. Usually that does not happen if it's anything serious or if it's anything long-term. We're not going to be able to have access to those guys. So it was encouraging to know we had access and we were able to ask those questions to Will. And then when Vrabel spoke about, you know, we'd like to really see him out there Friday, that's why that leads me to believe that he will play.
I would agree. I think the fact that he's speaking means that he's probably going to play.
Yeah.
That they, at the very least, want to dispel any negative feelings about him being unavailable for a long period of time.
And the reality of that is, too, Will, if he doesn't play, then that means it's a Malik show again.
Yeah.
We don't know right now if Tannehill is going to get live reps in the game either. And it doesn't seem like he is just moving forward right now. The first O-line definitely has to get some more reps. I was actually kind of shocked to see, not shocked because heck, he's a young guy. He needs reps too. Tierra got a good amount of burn this past weekend. Tierra Tart did. Sure did.
Good.
He got a lot. Yes, he did. He did his job. I mean, you saw Coach Terrell Williams. Hey, Tierra.
Yeah.
Just moving him on in. It's like, you know, you got to go back in here. And a lot of that's probably in-game conditioning for a guy like him, but also it's just good work to have, you know, 1 or 2 veterans out there that can play for a longer amount of time. Tierra's got a big task in front of him this year too. Is, you know, he's going into the second round tender that he just signed.
Running back Hassan Haskins and Jonathan Ward, Monty Rice were not at practice. Traylon Burks, Jalen Duncan, Kyle Phillips, among those who did not practice. Kyrus Jackson was seen but did not participate in practice, according to TitansOnline.com's Jim Wyatt. Guys who were back, Colton Dowell, really big game for him Friday.
100%.
And get to perform in front of his folks.
That's right.
Hometown kid here.
Lebanon High School Zone gets to play. Or no, sorry, Wilson Central, not Lebanon. That's on me. Wilson Central Zone gets to play here in person. And then Elijah Molden and Naquan Jones also back at practice on Tuesday.
That was encouraging to see Elijah back because I think just with all the injury history he's had a good training camp. And then to not see him, your first reaction is, oh, no.
Yeah.
So that was really good to see him back there.
Yeah, it was. Colton, though, could really make up some room for himself moving forward if he can stay out there and make some plays. Again, this is the last week to really lay it on the line as far as, you know, picking out roles. He needs to be a monster on kickoff coverage, punt coverage, kickoff return, and everything else involved in that world of special teams.
Especially with Kyrus.
Yeah.
Status unknown.
He needs to be a monster this week.
Do you give Will Levis the whole game Friday if he's healthy?
I might give him the first swing at the first half. I give him that. I think he's owed that. I give him first half, especially with the starting offensive line too.
I think so too. I think at the very least, if Will Levis is available, he needs to play the whole first half with the whole first team offensive line.
There we
Correct.
I think the whole offensive line should get a half, not just a quarter.
I agree.
Yep. If we're going to be fair and break it up as far as the reps go, I give him the first half of the game. Definitely.
At this point, do you guys trust Malik Willis more to come in a pinch if he has to this season as QB2 than you did last year?
In a pinch, yes. In a pinch, I think we've all forgot what we kind of said, and it's been said before recently too. When Malik got drafted, what was the whole point of us discussing him?
Sit for 2 years and then see what you got. That was the conversation.
You said that it's flawless. We didn't even prep for that. we didn't even prep for that.
We were talking about.
Legitimately, that was our conversation. He needs 2 years, man, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sam kind of brought that up, Monson, just a second ago in the studio. That was off air when we having that conversation. And then we mentioned the fact of, Steve McNair. Steve needed time. Yeah. I think before we all put an emphasis on the quarterback, as much as we did, we knew they were the most important position, but it was other position that kind of walked in front of them. The running backs did. Yeah. The linebackers were in front. As far as just what the public spotlight was on the quarterback, those guys had time. Nobody pushed them fast to get into the starting lineup. And I think Malik has been judged unfairly in the sense of he needs to be here by now. No, he needed to actually grow and still does a little bit more. It wouldn't shock me if Levis ends up number 2. And I'll say it for this reasons right here, just simply because of game planning. You don't have to entirely change the playbook for Will Levis because he plays like Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
You got to have not a separate playbook. You may have to really itemize what you're going to do offensively when Malik's at quarterback, and that's fine until he grows up a little bit more.
I don't think it will be number 2 right now. I think he will end up being the number 2 at some point. I think right now Malik will end up being the number 2.
Yeah.
Out of camp.
Okay, let me ask you this. If it goes down to which one you're going to start in the game, if Tannehill has to come out for a hangnail?
I'm still doing Malik right now.
You're still going
right now.
Malik?
Over under week 7 on
Probably
Will Levis
Levis.
becoming QB2. By week 7, who's quarterback 2?
Me personally, I think he's already QB2.
Really?
Yeah, and
You're
I'll
just
say
dropping that at the end of a segment here.
give him 6-7 mid-season.
I think he's already quarterback 2.
You think Will Levis right now, if Ryan Tannehill, had a hangnail, as you like to say, and we're New Orleans Saints need a quarterback, you think the quarterback could be Will Levis?
I think the quarterback could be Will Levis.
Wow. Okay.
I'm standing on that one.
Oh, he's doing his voucher.
No, that wasn't a vouch.
That wasn't on a vouch.
That wasn't
You
a
just
vouch.
said you're standing on
the
that.
decision. I didn't say anything about him. That was a me thing right there.
All right.
That was a
wonder
me
if
thing.
People will come after you for being a Malik Willis hater like they did me now.
They can. I'm okay with that.
Bring it. Let them.
It's not. We're up. Yeah, we can talk about it more if you want to.
Well,
and I
coming
can
up next,
tell you why.
I want to get into what we talked about with Steve Palazzolo about Peter Skoronski and left tackle. Because, guys, if the offensive line is as bad against this Titans defensive front and continues that against other defenses, Titans might have an issue at left tackle again this season. At what point do the Titans have to change Peter Skoronski's short-term role to left tackle? We'll dive into that coming up next on RKW.
Hey, this is Kayla Anderson for the Ingram Agency, a local-owned agency that is founded from the ground up. That was way back in 2010, so they've been here for a while. Chris Ingram, along with his incredible crew of fully licensed professionals, they've created a strong agency that really focuses on serving all of Tennessee. So you need insurance, this is a place to check out. They specialize in a wide array of products, including everything from auto, home, life, commercial, even aviation. And this is not your average insurance company. The Ingram Agency was founded on passion for education and support. And the goal has always been to guide and protect clients comprehensively. So if you want a family-owned insurance company who actually cares about the customer, you got to call the Ingram Agency, 615-206-8276, or just simply go online to theingramagency.com. Rest easy with the Ingram Agency.
It's RKW, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone. That's Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh behind the glass. Kayla Anderson on her way to Titans training camp for the final time. One final practice today. Before, I would imagine, a walkthrough tomorrow and a football game on Friday at Nissan Stadium. 615-737-1045 is our number. A little bit of breaking news, nothing major. There is a report from Pete Thamel that has now been made official that Tennessee has agreed to a 10-year naming rights deal with Food City for the school's basketball arena. Pete Thamel writes, Thompson Bowling Arena will now be known as Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center. A 10-year deal worth $20 million with Food City.
They should have leaned into it more. Why does it have to be at the Food City Center? Why can't it just be at Food City? Like when I think about Food City, it's like towers built out of salami and large blocks of cheese that are apartments. Like Food City sounds cool. Like come catch a dunk at the Food City. Like that would be cool. But now it's Food City Center. That sounds like where like geriatric patients are given their tapioca pudding rations. Like you got to figure it out. Make it sound cool. Get the kids going.
Get the kids going, Bert. Hey, Food City Center. They messed that up right there, too. Food City Center.
I was going to say that it was a really tough day to have the last name Bowling, but then they're still keeping the Thompson Bowling part also.
And it's up front. You're still in front of Food City.
I'm still second on the list.
I mean, but first
my family.
Do you have any resentments towards the Thompson portion of that? You're
Very
like, come
much
on,
so.
dude, get out of the way.
Because Bowling Thompson still sounds good.
Bowling Thompson Arena.
If it was in alphabetical order, you should be first.
You should be.
Those daggum naming rights people, where the hell do they get off at?
In classes as a kid, I was always, a couple of years ago, I was always like third or fourth in line. Like a B.O. last name is always enough to like, your name wouldn't be called first, but you like had to have your head in a swivel and be ready. Mm-hmm. There's like that one class every year that you were the first name. You're like, oh, wow.
I was always in the back.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Always in the back.
I was middle of the pack unless I had a bunch of A's at the front. Like Anderson is always, Adams is always going to be there. And it's usually a very common last name. So, oh, my gosh, all the time. Or the Beard was the last name that was common in Weston. Like, come on, man.
Forget about the aardvarks, double A, nobody's in front of them.
Aaron.
Aaron.
Or Aaron's.
Yeah,
Aaron's. Yep, that's another last name.
There
Like,
you
come
go.
on, good people.
That was talking names on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Definitely talking names, man.
We talked about this with Steve Palazzolo in the last hour of PFF about the arm length for Peter Skronsky being an issue or not an issue. This has been a divisive conversation about Skronsky since we were in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, since the draft process began. Obviously not a guy that was at the Senior Bowl, but this is interesting to me now because we still don't know how much of the Titans' defensive line dominating in practice is because they're that good or because the Titans' offensive line is that bad. We don't have a ton to go off of with that, but I will say this. I am worried about Andre Dillard at left tackle more than I am any other position on this Titans roster. I'm cool with Jack Gibbons at inside linebacker being a starter. I think at this point we really know what we're getting from him. I'm cool with the wide receiver position because this offense isn't going to spread it out and need 4 outstanding wide receivers anyway. I'm fine with there just being 2 pretty good ones. Yeah. And knowing what you have in Nick Westbrook-Akine and perhaps Chris Moore and some of those other guys. I have more concern about left tackle than I do any other position at this point. Ramon, the question I want to pose to you. At what point does it become worth it for the Titans to look at Peter Skronsky at left tackle? I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
But I think we might get to a point this season in week 6 or 7, by the time you get to that early bye week, where if things are bad at left tackle, does it need to be by committee to figure out that position, or when do things get so bad that you're willing to move Peter Skronsky outside?
I wouldn't by committee figure it out as far as personnel goes. I would say this about Dillard. And watching him up close in the games and seeing him at practice too, one thing is consistent in his play, especially when it comes down to pass pro. It just looks ugly. Now, we're going to see what it looks like as far as him seeing different competition. That's, not Arden Key, not backups, or some guys knowing they only got one series on defense. When it actually gets real is what I'm saying when it comes down to Andre Dillard. He always does finish a job, even though he has pressure a lot when it comes down to playing left tackle. He gets a lot of pressure on the side because his ability to stop the bull rush or stop their charge, I think, is just a little bit more delayed. That comes down to him having watched film and being taught, hey, stop him right here. You got 1-2 steps in, stop him by the third step of you going backwards. I hadn't seen anybody outright beat him in a game. That has been actually pretty good for him to where he doesn't look foolish at left tackle. Moving Peter Skoronski, to me, I think is a little bit too early also as we talk about those two on the left side. Saying that he can play left tackle in the NFL is one thing, but he's had 0 reps at it so far. I think it's negligent.
Mistake?
I don't think it's a mistake. I'm actually okay with Peter Skoronski staying at left guard.
Okay.
I am, and this is for this reason. Andre Dillard's contract isn't one that you're tied to. The money that he got, Will, isn't something that says, gosh, this is going to suck if we have to get rid of him later. I look at his position, say, he's on a prove-it deal still. You just had to pay market value for a starting left tackle. That's fair. I think it's easier for you to draft a left tackle next year if he doesn't pan out to what you need, as opposed to moving Skoronski out of position right now. I think Skoronski being at left guard is one of the best things that he can do for his career. We don't know what his footwork looks like at left tackle. We didn't see what it looked like in OTAs and at minicamp. He established himself as a left guard, and he's going against Big Jeff every single day. I feel confident in leaving him there. I feel confident in leaving Brewer at center. And I feel confident about Bronsko also. The tackles are going to always be questions because those are the ones we notice the most.
Right.
Nobody on that starting OL has egregiously gotten beat. Have they?
Other than maybe Daniel Brunskill on the first day of practice against Jeffrey Simmons, but that's not egregious because it was the first day of practice. And you and I have discussed that can be chalked up as much to just understanding how hard Jeffrey Simmons goes in practice.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened since.
Right. Now, I don't want this group to get surprised in week 1 when they go to New Orleans and that crowd is loud and they got to deal with that rush off the edge with Cam Jordan.
Right.
Like, that's going to be a test. Where Daniel Bronson is going to run into issues, Will, is with the rusher like Cam Jordan, where all he wants to do is bull rush you until he breaks you down. We're going to see what that look like over 70 plays. If it becomes an issue, then we'll have to start asking those questions. The other contingency is this, though, too. One of the best things that NPF could be doing, Nicholas Petit-Frere, is taking some left tackle snaps, if that is the case.
Right. So this was Steve Palazzolo an hour ago talking about this. Pro Football Focus writer, when asked about what the ceiling is for this group and if that ceiling includes Peter Skoronski playing left tackle.
We always use the phrase on the PFF NFL podcast, creep back toward average.
Perfect.
Right? You just need, no offense, Ramon, but you guys aren't going to carry the team, right? Like, if you have the best offensive line in the league, but you don't have a good enough quarterback, it doesn't matter. But you can't have an offensive line where every time it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, you're giving up pressure. You have to at least be in the middle of the pack. Skoronski specifically, I'm of the mind that stop measuring arm length and saying this guy has to be a guard. Just end it.
Yeah.
If he can play left tackle, he can play left tackle. And I think there's a chance that Peter Skoronski can play left tackle in the NFL. And I'm of the mind, I know you've only got so many reps and all that, I would give him a chance. Like, I'd give you a chance to fail at tackle first, and then I feel pretty good about you moving to guard. So I would always try a Peter Skoronski type who's really talented, technically sound, held his own as a left tackle in the Big Ten against good rushers. Give him a chance to play left tackle rather than just measuring his arms and say he can't do it.
That was Steve Palazzolo an hour ago here in studio.
I think the arms are irrelevant. I honestly think Peter is a NFL guard. And I agree with what he's saying. Like, if we had got a full preseason of putting Peter Skoronski at left tackle and letting him battle it out, I'm on the same page as saying, like, yeah, that makes sense. But to move him right now, no. And the fact that you had already signed Dillard is another thing that comes down to this decision-making of moving guys around. This group is as solid as going to get as far as what they're capable of doing. The biggest issue that this first line has is staying healthy. because I don't know what it looks like after those guys. Now, if we get into a pinch where Dillard's is out for a game or two, I'm of the mindset I feel better about Peter Skoronski moving to left then and moving Corey Levin or somebody else into guard. I will live in that world, but to say that he's not playing left tackle because of his arms here, I think that's kind of flagrant. I see where Steve's coming from, but if you watch his tape as it stands right now with Peter, he's a left guard, and that is all right because, again, it is the quarterback's blind side still. It is a very important part of this offensive line as we talk about that center guard triangle too, and he's held his own more times than not when it comes down to his run blocking ability and his pass pro. Again, the thing that we all question about on this offensive line is the tackles, and specifically the left side too. Just because if you look at the game and you go back and look at this Titans tape, Dillard gives up a lot of ground. He has to put his foot in the ground a whole lot better as far as getting a stop on the charge of the defensive lineman. There will be a portion of this season, and it's probably going to happen early, where guys game him, meaning I want bull rush you right now, I'm going to go around you. And now I'm a bull rush you. And then I'm a bull rush you again, and it's a matter of them watching him give up so much ground to where they're going to reach over him and potentially sack Tannehill. That's where the issue is. He has to put literally a stake in, not literally, figuratively, a stake in the ground and stop giving up so much pressure. He's a pressure monster right now.
I got two updates for you guys. You talked about Andre Dillard's contract and how it would be easier for the Titans to get out from underneath him. You can save $2 million. Now, you'll have to eat just about $8 million in dead cap, but he only counts for about 4% of the total salary cap. So you would be able to get out from underneath Dillard, and the year after that, you would save $9 million. Still, $10 million for a starting left tackle is pretty cheap. So if you can keep him, if he's healthy, you might still want to do that. But another thing that has precedent is elite tackles starting at guard their freshman year in the NFL. If you look at Jonathan Ogden, you look at Laramie Tunzel, both of those players started over 10 games at guard their rookie years. And there's also precedent for the opposite way, where Kelechi Osemele, who was a Pro Bowl guard, started at left tackle, and then he ended up settling in at left guard later in his career. So there's precedent for both ways. I think it just depends on what your team needs right now. So if Dillard went down, maybe that's something that they look at, trying to secure that left side.
And it's more of that, I think, than anything.
Yeah.
Just get them on the field.
Right. I think that's the question then that I would have is we talk about the jump from year one to year two for offensive linemen. Can you make that jump playing a different position in year one to year two? Like, is there enough that is similar from a footwork, from a technique perspective of playing guard to playing tackle that Peter Skoronski could be a tackle this year or a guard this year and then be the opposite next season, yet still be able to make that jump and not have to totally start over?
I think so because, his mindset will have to play a huge part in this. Accepting the idea that I'm going to left tackle if we're speaking about next year for Peter Skoronski. And he already has it in his DNA.
Right.
That's the other portion of it, too, that plays a lot into what you can plan for with this line. Again, it comes down to reps and mentally growing up as far as a rookie coming into this league, especially on the OL.
I'll tell you this. The best-case scenario is Jalen Duncan taking over at tackle for me. Because you would have a cheap tackle. I mean, winning in the NFL is all about finding stars for cheap. We talk about it at the quarterback position, but the name of the game of winning a Super Bowl from a roster-building front office perspective is, can I get more production out of you than what I'm paying you to produce for me? Oh. That's it. Because then you can overpay for bona fide superstars. That's the conversation that it now changes for the Titans, because look at the way the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl. They signed a brand new offensive line with 5 new members of that offensive line.
Sure did.
It was completely different from what they had the season before in that pandemic year when they lost to, what did you say?
I said 2 rookies, too,
right,
on that line.
Well, yeah, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith.
Yeah.
But you brought in Andrew Wiley at that point. A second time, you brought in Orlando Brown. Like, the way the Chiefs have been able to say, we don't have to spend on wide receiver because a bad wide receiver is going to be good, A, in this offense, and B, with Patrick Mahomes. So you get more out of your wide receiving core than you're paying for. So then you now have extra money to spend on an offensive line. Titans don't have that money when you're paying a quarterback and a running back.
Right.
The Titans are one of the only teams in the National Football League that is paying a big salary after a rookie contract to a quarterback and a running back. There is a very short list of teams that are doing that. It's why I think in order for the Titans to really overhaul their offensive line to a level of winning immediately, either Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill has to go in 2024. Because that's the law of diminishing returns now. What's the point of having a Derrick Henry if you can't properly block for him? Well, what's the way you're going to get guys who can properly block for him? By getting rid of Derrick Henry. So that's why Tajay Spears is in the room. That's why Will Levis is in the room. Because I think, guys, in 2024, we are either saying goodbye to 17 or 22.
And you got to even go to the defensive side, too. What's going to happen with Byard?
I mean, he's already taken 2 pay cuts.
That's what I'm saying.
He's already restructured a couple times.
And so I asked that question to Sam and Steve about what does that Super Bowl team look like? And I just needed to know, like, how would they, categorize it?
And I think it was the perfect answer.
It was.
And if you missed it, Steve Palazzolo's answer was about teams that can win in many different ways.
100%. We have the audio for that one, too?
We don't.
Okay, all right. But that's what it was, though, is what I'm saying is whether it be through the air, whether it be on the ground, whether it be your defense, whether it be your special team stealing the ball back on the coverage. Like, there's many different ways to be good. You mentioned Andrew Wiley, the right tackle that was for Kansas City when they won the Super Bowl. A lot of people looked at him as like, yo, he's a liability. You got 2 second-year starters with Trey and Creed Humphreys over there, too.
Right.
And then you got a bad right tackle, what people would deem as a bad right tackle, and they still went out and won. And that's because they were supported by having a good defense, a quarterback that can make plays, to your point, Will,
right.
And they found a running game in Isaiah Pacheco. Like, think about what we're saying right now. There were still liabilities on that team, and I think you just got to kind of say to yourself, how can we limit Andre Dillard giving up pressure?
Right.
Chris Hubbard being good in the run game. What are they going to look like if those dudes get bull rushed? Like, that's what we're looking at with this team right now.
I think the other difficult part of this is you can afford to have an average offensive line if you have above average weapons, and the Titans don't have above average weapons.
I would say this, it's fragile.
Well, right.
With the health of guys. Because I look at Traylon, and hear me out when I say, I look at Traylon, look at D-Hop, I look at what Chig's capable of doing, I say, oh, man, that's good.
It's got
look
potential.
At Tajay. Yes, absolutely.
But one of those guys goes down, and Chris Moore is your wide receiver, too.
It's fragile.
Or Nick Westbrook-Akine is your wide receiver, too.
Yeah.
Or Chigakonkwo is your wide receiver,
I mean,
too.
seriously.
Yeah.
If they're all together and they're singing Kumbaya in the same offense together, they got a real strong chance, even with the OL, right?
I think that's the theme of the entire season, guys. And one of my pet peeves in this business is doing off-season conversations about a future off-season. Like when you're in season and you're like, so are they going to keep Tannehill or Henry? Like, no, like when we get into this football season, we're going to talk about the football that's being played because there's plenty of time to do off-season discussion in that off-season. There's enough to talk about in this league where we don't have to try very hard to find something to speak about in the NFL. But that being said, the theme of this entire season is who gives you more production to put themselves on the roster in 2024 when you feel like the rebuild might be coming to an end and you feel like you can compete for bigger things than just the division. Tannehill or Henry? Who puts themselves in a better position to stay on the roster? Because I think at least one of them is gone. Maybe both. This might be the last dance in a lot of ways. And again, I've compared the Titans to being a year behind where the Vikings were. Look at what they just did with their running back.
I know.
That was basically the cornerstone of the offense, other than Jefferson, of course. Dalvin Cook is gone.
I know. The most encouraging thing, though, Will, is you got a guy who's a second-rounder at quarterback. That
Exactly.
You've invested minimal in this world of quarterback.
Right. And you save a ton of money by having a new quarterback and a new running back next year. And then you can talk about, you can buy whatever offensive lineman you want.
Yeah.
Then the conversation switches from, okay, can a good offensive line block long enough for an average or young quarterback to become good? Right now it's, can a bad offensive line block long enough for a pretty good quarterback to be good? Again, in the AFC, this thing is just so fascinating because we talk about all this and then still all the best quarterbacks in the NFL are in this conference.
They are.
It's crazy.
It's so good.
Coming up, headlines we have not been able to get to yet as we get ready for practice today. NFL headlines, a little quick rapid-fire roundup on the other side of Ramon Kalen Will.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation, and it's here, y'all. I promise you, we've been talking about it. You've been talking about it in your circle groups and everywhere, okay? This heat, humidity, scorching temps is right here in our face, man. The hot temps forcing your AC into overdrive, leading to sky-high energy bills. We have a solution for you. That's new windows from our friends at Window Nation, where you can save thousands a day with no money down, no payments, and pay no interest for 2 full years. Plus, get 50% off all style windows, too, from Bose, bays, double hung, any style window you can think of. So protect and increase the value of your home today by calling my friends at 866-90Nation or going online to windownation.com. And of course, there's so many ways to increase the value of your home. One, you can save 30% on your energy bills with Window Nation windows. And the best thing about them, too, is the average installer has over 16 years of experience with over 20,000 windows installed. Window Nation has installed nearly 2 million windows with 96% perfection, making them one of the top companies in the country when it comes down to how they install at your house. And all they do is windows, so you can trust that when they come up to your house, you're going to be guaranteed a really good window. This is what they do. They have over 10,000 online positive reviews. If you need them, call 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
104.5 The Zone is excited to partner with Chimney to gear up for the gridiron with giveaways to get you ready for football season. 104.5 The Zone's Ron Slay will give our listeners a chance to win tickets and amazing prizes from Chimney, such as a custom fire pit, pizza ovens, and more. For more details, visit 1045thezone.com/contest.
And it's right, Robert Walsh, as we ramp up the show on a Wednesday morning. Tomorrow, we've got Coach Mack, got Ben Arthur. Fox Sports will join us. Also have a debut of a new segment for football season tomorrow. You've heard of the Friday Five that happened every fall last season, every Friday in the fall. This year we have the Thursday Three.
Yeah.
And that's all the information I'll give you.
Should be good. There'll be a lot of people enjoy this.
Or it'll be bad, and then I'll get fired and have to find new jobs.
Okay,
That's true, too.
We're just being a realist, one of the two.
Got to give both sides of it like a doctor, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Make sure we don't get fired, Will. Do the rest of the show.
Sure.
Keep us safe, Will.
More details on Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center, which has officially been announced by Tennessee Athletics. One thing that is coming to Tennessee that I've noticed more recently based on changes to Bridgestone Arena, that video board looks so small now in Knoxville. I remember when that thing was put in, like, oh my gosh, look at this new big video board we've got in Thompson Bowling. And then the same one was in Bridgestone. And then when Bridgestone upgraded theirs, 4 years ago? The one in Knoxville looks tiny now. There will be a new center-hung video board, updated exterior and entrances, new premium spaces and clubs, and continued elevation of additional upgrades, according to Tennessee Athletics.
You got to think, I thought we were good, man. It's like, oh, man, it's a great place to be. And it is. Thompson Bowl is awesome. Knoxville is not awesome. The campus and everything, right? And then Danny White comes in and was like, oh, this is nice to you guys?
Yeah,
you guys really think this is nice? Well, let me show you. And that's all he's done, like selling the name and rights to Thompson Bowling. Has that not been done before either? Like,
nope.
Different ways to make revenue on a place that needs to be self-sustaining. Well, I think that's very unique, man. And it's also, I'm excited for what it's going to be.
$20 million over 10 years for Tennessee basketball and Tennessee athletics. Danny White telling VolQuest last month, I think the facility has great bones and can have a long shelf life for us, but it needs some work. It says, I think it might be the only arena in the country where you can drive a TV truck into it, which is not necessary.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I will say that is a big deal for traveling shows, such as Monday Night Raw, SmackDown. I know they love going there because it's so easy for the producers and the equipment trucks to just get everything in, get everything out. So there are benefits to it, but I understand what he's talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
Food City, a long-time Tennessee sponsor. And now we'll get the sponsorship on the arena. I saw somebody already tweeted, does this mean that it's going to now be Neyland Stadium at Piggly Wiggly Center or something? What other Southern food chain can we name the football stadium after?
Y'all have Food Lions here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
well,
definitely.
I think that's related to Food City, isn't it?
I am not sure. My dad calls it the Food Dog. That's what everybody shops at in North Carolina.
I'm pretty sure Food City owns Food Lion.
Oh, wow.
No, never mind. I'm wrong.
Different food place.
Would have made sense.
Food Park owns Food Lion.
Food Park is a place?
It's actually Food Zoo.
It sounds like a great theme park. I would go to Food Park.
I would go to Food Park, man.
Come on out to Food Park. You can drive. You can ride our meat roller coaster. What? Yeah, they hand you out samples as you're on the roller coaster.
Clean it up, Will.
You're going up.
Clean it up,
No,
Will.
a meat roller coaster.
Clean it up, man.
You can get little beef samples.
Come on, you clean it up, Will.
We got Inky.
As you're going up the hill, and then on the way down, you eat it and you try it. Okay. Inky Johnson ends our show with midweek motivation.
If you've had a habit from the time you was a kid until you 21, 22 years old, let's just keep it a buck. That habit ain't leaving. Too easy, right? You probably can tame it, but it's still gonna be back there. It's like when you see cats that had a temper, and they probably been smooth selling. Something happened, you set them off, you like, man, where my man been? Like, he ain't act like that in forever, right? But if you replace it with new behaviors and new habits moving forward, Now if an old situation pops up that may tempt you, now you got a whole new set of tools to deal with it.